left off as a member of the House of Representatives before the call to duty to serve as Governor came. Undoubtedly, one of the most recognized voices in the Senate, Dixon remains an advocate, democracy, due process, equity, fairness, and justice. He can always be counted upon to stand with the people and lend his voice, intellect, and all to every cause that stands to better the lot of the people.
Now, other lawmakers spoke in the same vein, emphasizing the crucial role of the Labor Ministry in workforce planning, training, and productivity across the country. The senator representing Bayelsa West in Senate, Saraki Dixon, has called on political office holders to view public office as an avenue to serve humanity and not a platform for personal enrichment. Dixon, a former governor of Bayelsa State, made the call at the National Assembly complex while receiving recognition from some civil society organizations for his transparency and prudence in public service. The lawmaker, who disclosed that he recently became a landlord in Abuja for the first time after over 26 years in public service, urged leaders at all levels to entrench transparency and modesty in governance. A member of the coalition, Ado Sabo, commended the former Bayelsa State governor for sponsoring the transparency bill that later formed part of the law in Bayelsa State, as well as for maintaining what it termed a prudent and modest lifestyle. He praised him for being a voice for the voiceless and for consistently standing for fairness and truth in public office. As the 2027 general elections draw closer, political actors across the country are recalibrating strategies and consolidating influence. In Rivers State, what appears to be a ceasefire between Governor Siminalayi Fubara and FCT Minister Nyesom Wike has sparked fresh conversations about whether genuine peace has returned or whether tensions have merely been suspended. A legal practitioner, Asim Adams, who appeared on Signature Morning, described the current situation not as peace, but as a truce. According to him, while open hostilities may have reduced, the underlying issues fueling the crisis remain unresolved.
You can't force peace. Even though I believe in what Mahatma Gandhi postulated some time ago, that the most disadvantageous peace is better than a just war. Yes, I would agree with it. But when a peace is disadvantageous, to some parties, maybe they might not want to do that. And I believe that is what is happening in Rivers State right now. So politically speaking, I can't see peace between the executive arm and the legislative arm. Why am I saying this? Is because up till about now, we have not seen the two parties come together to say they are working in harmony and, in tandem with what people expected. So for me, it is not peace, but a truce. I use the word carefully, truce, in the sense that maybe parties are still working out the roadmap to peace. The essence of a truce is to allow warring factions to go sit together, harmonize, positions, then come out finally with a peace deal. So I believe there's no peace, but we have a truce between the parties here in the Rivers State, the warring factions.
Adams noted that the intervention of President Bola Tinubu in the matter was largely political rather than legal. He argued that while political mediation may temporarily calm tensions, it does not provide a legally binding framework capable of conclusively resolving the dispute. According to him, the Court of Appeal stands in a stronger position to deliver a definitive and binding resolution, insisting that judicial determination, rather than political compromise, would provide the clarity and legitimacy required to settle the matter permanently.
Legally speaking, and for Nigeria to move forward. America today that we normally refer to Britain, the fulcrum on which governance and democracy rest is the rule of law. And when the courts make pronouncement, it becomes law. And it is we serve as precedent for tomorrow. You see, why I'm worried is that if the president had not intervened, the Court of Appeal would have decided that matter, which would have been a precedent when matters of this nature come out maybe in the next 20 years or 30 years today. But the president truncated it, as the case may be. And if the court had taken decision, I am very sure that by now a possibility would have been on the governor or on the legislature to say, no, you must obey that court order. The court has given a judgment, so you must obey it. But in this case, since the president were in a state of law, economy is gloom and doom. Social life in Rivers State has been kept in abeyance. Political, thinkers and the ecosystem, has been put on hold. So these are the things I am afraid of to make the postulations something.
Now, the River State Governor Similai Fubara has declared that his administration has made significant strides in the health sector in the past 2.5 years. Governor Fubara, in a statement by his Chief Press Secretary, Onwuka Nzeshi, listed some of his achievements, including the employment of over 2,000 health workers to boost the manpower and efficiency of the sector. The statement disclosed that the administration has revived and expanded several abandoned health facilities, including the zonal hospitals in Bori, Omoku, Ahoda, and Degema. The Ahoda Zonal Hospital, the statement explained, is a 105-bed secondary facility that has the capacity to cater to the health needs of the people in its catchment area. The statement added that the Fubara administration has also paid very close attention to the primary health care centers, especially those in the rural areas. On staff welfare, the governor also approved the promotion of over 400 staff of the River State University Teaching Hospital and recruited an additional 500 staff. Governor Fubara added that the number of scholarships for indigents of River State studying at the Palmo University of Medical Sciences has been increased from 100 to 150 under his watch. Now, next is business news.
The Nigerian exchange closed Tuesday with 1.13 billion shares traded in 72,159 deals worth 45.48 billion naira, while market capitalization rose to 124.8 trillion naira. Compared with the previous session, volume fell 12%, deals dropped 24%, but turnover increased 44%. Out of 133 listed equities, 27 gained and 40 declined. Jais Bank led the gainers with 10% share price appreciation, closing at 12 naira 76 kobo per share from an opening price at 11 naira 60 kobo per share, followed by Infinity Trust Mortgage Bank, which surged with 9.83% to close at 19 naira per share, while FCMB Group gained with 9.72% to close at 13 naira 55 kobo per share. And Fortis Global Insurance wrapped up Tuesday's trading session with 9.9% to close at 75 kobo per share. On the losing side, Tantalizers came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 10% at 4 naira 86 kobo per share from an opening price at 5 naira 40 kobo per share, followed by Dar Communications, which declined with 10% to close at 2 naira 25 kobo per share. Meanwhile, the benchmark Nigerian Exchange All-Share Index fell 1,799.7 points to close at 194,484.61. However, the Naira traded largely stable across both the official and para foreign exchange market on Tuesday, February 24, 2026, as improved liquidity on ongoing central bank support continued to steady the currency. At the Nigerian foreign exchange market, the Naira exchanged at around 1,343 Naira to 1,349 Naira per US dollar, with the official rate closing at 1,349 Naira per dollar, reflecting modest fluctuations within a narrow band. In the parallel market, the currency traded at approximately 1,350 Naira to 1,370 Naira per dollar in major cities such as Lagos and Abuja, indicating a much narrower gap with the official window compared to earlier in the month. This is business news in Global News. Chimizi Zadima reporting for Signature TV News.
Coming up next is foreign news.
Sri Lanka's criminal investigators have arrested the country's former intelligence chief in connection with the wave of 2019 Easter Sunday bombings that killed 279 people and upended the nation's tourism economic lifeline, police said. Retired Major General Suraj Salai was taken into custody at dawn in a suburb of the capital, police said on Wednesday. Salai, who was promoted to State Intelligence Service Chief in 2019 after Gotabaya Rajapaksa became president, had been accused of involvement in the coordinated suicide bombings, a charge he has denied. 6 almost simultaneous suicide bomb attacks struck Easter congregations at 3 churches and guests at 3 luxury hotels during breakfast. The bombings injured more than 500 people, also killed 45 foreign nationals, and dealt a severe blow to the island's vital tourism sector. In the aftermath, officials blamed a local armed group for the suicide bombings, but Salai was also accused of orchestrating the attack. British broadcaster Channel 4 reported in 2023 that Salai was linked to the bombers and had met them before the attack. A whistleblower told the network that he had permitted the attack to proceed with the intention of influencing that year's presidential election in favor of Rajapaksa. 2 days after the bombings, Rajapaksa declared his candidacy and went on to win the November vote in a landslide after promising to stamp out violence. Salai was promoted to head of the SIS, Sri Lanka's main intelligence agency, following Rajapaksa's victory, but was dismissed after Anura Kumara Dissanayake won the presidency in 2024, promising prosecutions of those behind the attack. A special commission of Venezuela's National Assembly reports that more than 3,200 individuals have been granted full release from prison since the country's amnesty law took effect last week. The figures, announced on Tuesday, include former prisoners and individuals who were previously held under house arrest or subject to other restrictive judicial measures. Lawmaker George Ariaza, head of the commission overseeing implementation of the amnesty, said during a news conference that authorities had received a total of 4,203 applications for amnesty since the law was passed on February 20th. Ariaza said after evaluating these requests, 3,052 people previously under house arrest or other restrictive measures were granted full freedom. Additionally, 179 individuals who were in prison have also been released. Last week, Venezuela's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, signed the amnesty legislation into law after it was unanimously adopted by the National Assembly, which authorities said is intended to ease political tensions, promote reconciliation, and accelerate the release of political prisoners. During its signing, Rodriguez said the law showed that the country's political leaders were letting go of a little intolerance and opening new avenues for politics in Venezuela. Opposition figures have criticized the amnesty, which appears to include carve-outs for some offenses previously used by authorities to target former President Nicolas Maduro's political opponents. 17 international aid groups said they have petitioned Israel's Supreme Court to allow them to keep working in the Gaza Strip and other areas in the occupied Palestinian territory, where the Israeli government is set to halt their life-saving work next month. The Israeli government says it will ban 37 aid groups from war-torn Gaza, the occupied West Bank, and occupied East Jerusalem on March 1st, a move described as having potentially devastating consequences for Palestinians. In a joint statement on Tuesday, aid groups said they have appealed to the Supreme Court seeking an urgent suspension of the plan to ban them from working and are seeking an urgent interim injunction from the court pending a full judicial review of the Israeli order. Oxfam International said on Tuesday that the forced closure of aid operations in Gaza and the rest of the occupied Palestinian territory could begin as early as Saturday. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum has warned she could take possible legal action following comments from right-wing tech billionaire Elon Musk, accusing her of ties to cartels. At her morning news conference, the president was asked for her response to Musk's statement. Musk had described her as being beholden to the cartels. She then proceeded to describe the allegations as absurd and demonstrably false. Sheinbaum has faced criticism for her national security policies following a spate of cross-country violence over the weekend. The violence erupted after the death on Sunday of a top cartel leader, Nemesio Oresguara Cervantes, known by the nickname El Mencho. Japan has strongly protested China's move to restrict the export of dual-use items to 20 Japanese business entities that Beijing says could be used for military purposes, in the latest twist in a months-long diplomatic row between the two countries. Japanese Deputy Chief Cabinet Secretary Sato Kei said at a news conference that the move by China's Ministry of Commerce on Tuesday was deplorable and would not be tolerated by Tokyo. Companies affected by China's export ban on dual-use items, or items that can be used for civilian or military purposes, include Mitsubishi Heavy Industries Shipbuilding Group, Aerospace and Marine Machinery subsidiaries, Kawasaki Heavy Industries, Japan's National Defense Academy, and the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency. Beijing said restricting the export of dual-use items to the Japanese firms was necessary to safeguard national security and interests, and fulfill international obligations such as non-proliferation, adding that the companies were involved in enhancing Japan's military strength. China's Commerce Ministry said on Tuesday that it would also add another 20 entities to its export restrictions watch list, including Japanese automaker Subaru, petroleum company ENEOS Corporation, and Mitsubishi Materials Corporation. And that's it on the foreign news.
Next is entertainment news with Gwyneth Nwokonta.
Popular Nigerian comic actor Bamidele Tope Saint, professionally known as Okemesi, is dead. Okemesi died at a hospital on Tuesday, February 24th at about 11:50 a.m. The actor died after spending a few hours in a coma following complications from drugs administered to him at the hospital. Announcing his death in a video shared on Instagram, actor Tony Montana Jeff stated that his body has been deposited to the mortuary.
With a heavy heart, I am announcing to the world that Okemesi is dead. Bamidele Oluwatope Saint, aka Okemesi, is dead. The doctor pronounced him dead at exactly 11:50 a.m. this morning. Today's date is 24th of February 2026. Okemesi is gone. So on behalf of the entire Bamidele family, I am announcing to the world that Oluwatope Bamidele Saint Okemesi is dead. We have taken the body to the morgue, and I will communicate the rest of the arrangements to you guys. Let me use this medium to say a very big thank you to everybody that supported Okemesi during this, entire period.
Popular Nollywood actor Ray Amodi has revealed that he is stepping away from acting to focus on his music career. The announcement was made in a viral video shared on his Instagram page on Tuesday evening. In the video, Ray explained that his decision is largely due to his ongoing battles with anxiety, a condition he says he has struggled with for more than a decade. He acknowledged that leaving Nollywood to pursue music full-time comes with significant consequences, but believes it is the right move for his health and personal growth. Fast-rising Afrobeat singer Awosika Josiah, also known as Fido, has publicly apologized after months of criticism and online backlash surrounding his rapid rise in Nigeria's music scene. The Joy is Coming crooner, who shared the apology on X, admitted that the speed of his fame in 2024 left him struggling to manage public attention while still adjusting to personal growth and the reality of the industry. He acknowledged that some of his past comments and actions were driven by emotion and inexperience. Much of the controversy stemmed from fans' tensions, particularly involving supporters of Wizkid and Davido. A major incident involved his use of the phrase Osapolo FC during a live session, which many interpreted as a jab at Davido's 30BG fan base, sparking widespread backlash and online trolling. Although Fido later described the remark as a misunderstanding and criticism persisted. He also previously faced scrutiny over financial disputes with his former record label, which he claimed affected his early career. However, in his latest statement, Fido did not revisit specific incidents, instead offering a broad message of reflection and accountability. The singer apologized to fans and industry stakeholders, noting that the experience has prompted introspection and personal growth, and reaffirmed his commitment to maturing both personally and professionally. That's the entertainment news. Gwyneth Nwokonta's Signature TV News.
That's the news this hour. I am Uchenna Chimdi Oluoha. Thank you for watching.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Health is more than a diagnosis. It's your lifestyle, your choices, and your future. Join us on Inside Health, your weekly deep dive into the stories, science, and solutions shaping your well-being. From expert interviews to real-life journeys of healing and hope, we cover it all.
One of the complications of cancer management or treatment is they have some of them at one point in time, you see them having anemia. Okay, so you see them at times being transfused. But at the same time, you come in with a diet.
Nutrition, mental health, innovations in medicine, fitness, and everyday wellness. Whether you're managing a condition, staying informed, or just living your best life, Inside Health is your trusted guide.
I'm Tigiti Agorum, and I'll be with you every week on Inside Health, only on Signature TV.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
New every morning on Signature TV, we open the day for you with needed energy, information, and required vibes to shape your day. From sizzling snippets of stories in various areas of life to intriguing conversations with net worth guests.
When you have people who have no track record becoming your leaders, you have a problem.
There's no outstanding gratuity when Obi took over from me. I left in all the accounts of Anambra State 13.8 billion for him.
Your day cannot be complete without Signature Morning on weekdays and Signature New Day on weekends. There is no better way to start your day except Signature Morning and Signature New Day every day on Signature TV. We are local.
International communities observing
Why the main market is in chaos. People
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye. Aye.
We have taken the vote by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Get plugged into the heartbeat of entertainment on The Hub, your ultimate show on e-vibes. From trending stories and social media drama to top charting music, must-watch movies and exciting moments from the world of arts, we've got it all. Join us for unmissable conversations with your favorite entertainment personalities, plus fun segments every week.
I should try harder, so...
Okay, I don't know that one.
Outfit of the day.
Oh, I don't do that. That's some Gen Z stuff.
Oh, now you say it's a Gen Z stuff.
It's everything you love about entertainment, served fresh every week at 1 p.m. with weekend repeats just in case you missed it. The Hubs on E-Vibes, where the vibes never stop, only on Signature TV.
New every morning on Signature TV, we open the day for you with needed energy, information, and required vibes to shape your day. From sizzling snippets of stories in various areas of life to intriguing conversations with net worth guests.
When you have people who have no track record becoming your leaders, you have a problem.
There's no outstanding gratuity when Obi took over from me. I left in all the accounts of Anambra State 13.8 billion for him.
Your day cannot be complete without Signature Morning on weekdays and Signature New Day on weekends. There is no better way to start your day except Signature Morning and Signature New Day every day on Signature TV.
Health is more than a diagnosis. It's your lifestyle, your choices, and your future. Join us on Inside Health, your weekly deep dive into the stories, science, and solutions shaping your well-being. From expert interviews to real-life journeys of healing and hope, we cover it all.
One of the complications of cancer management or treatment is they have some of them at one point in time, you see them having anemia. Okay, so you see them at times being transfused. But at the same time, you come in with a diet.
Nutrition, mental health, innovations in medicine, fitness, and everyday wellness. Whether you're managing a condition, staying informed, or just living your best life, Inside Health is your trusted guide.
I'm Chigichi Agorum, and I'll be with you every week on Inside Health, only on Signature TV.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Welcome back. We're still talking on the state of the nation, and now Mr. Delvin joins us on the phone to continue our discussion. Thank you so much for joining us again. Please continue. You were talking about how you view the state of the nation.
Yes, what I was alluding to when I spoke earlier on, and I'm sorry about the networks, all of this is going to change shortly, I believe. Our nation will not continue like this. There are various ways of looking at that stuff. In the olden days, you would hear kings that had magicians, and the magicians were able to give a prophetic insight into what the future would look like, and nations were driven by those prophetic visions. We remember the popular story in the Bible of Joseph and the king of Egypt, Pharaoh. And when Joseph interpreted the dreams and gave a blueprint or a pattern for the future, Pharaoh decided to follow it, and he said, we will follow this plan, and for 7 years of famine, 7 years of plenty, we will use it to prepare for the years of famine that was to come. And we understand that the whole world was saved by that agricultural miracle that was orchestrated by the prophetic insights that Joseph gave. So I'm one who believes in prophetic insights. When an economist speaks, an economist is giving you a prophetic insight into the future so it can drive your investments. When political analysts speak, they are supposed to give you a prophetic insight into the future. One of the things that you recognize when you look at Nigeria is that Nigeria has a great future. Nigeria has a stupendously great future. Nigeria has a place in God's plan for the entire nations of the earth. I've observed, I'm a student of history, and I've observed that at various times God always brought new nations to lead the committee of nations of the earth. And if you look at what is happening now, there is a scattering on the left, the right, and the center everywhere on earth. Political arrangements that stood for many years have suddenly collapsed. The United States has pulled out of so many organizations in the United Nations. In Europe is reorganizing. Germany is even developing her defense. Japan is developing her defense. Alliances are happening all over the place. That is to say that there is a scattering so that there will be a congregation and there will be a figuring. And that's why I believe that Nigeria will soon be thrust into the epicenter of national global issues, and Nigeria will play a role as a leader nation. I believe so.
All right, so looking at the Nigerian state, we understand that Nigeria is rich in human and natural resources, and yet we are being weighed down by so many things, the structural challenges that we have already in Nigeria. The country reflects on the paradox of immense potential and deep frustration from each citizens. How exactly is this also affecting the citizen and their faith in the nation, that they grew up to understand that we are actually rich in this thing, but we don't see it play out in our day-to-day activities?
Yes, actually, the privilege that Nigeria has is an African privilege. It is understood that 58% of the African continent, especially Nigeria, is made up of a population of young people from 30 years down. So about 58% of the Nigerian population is made up of these young people who are 30 years down. That's from 0 to 30. And it means that the future and the fixing of Nigeria and Africa's situation lies squarely on the shoulders of these children. It's also estimated that at the current growth rates, in China there's birth control, in India there's birth control, but in Africa there's no birth control. But at the rate at which the nations are growing, population is growing, Africa is going to be the most populous continent in the next 50 years, and Nigeria will be at the top of it. Nigeria might even be more populated than China. That's what population analysts are prophesying or estimating. Now, if that's true, then it means that Nigeria is going to be one of the most important nations on earth. And I want you to understand, sometimes if you look at the specifics, and you say, there was a car crash today, another car crash tomorrow, and you can think, there's anarchy. But then when you look at the overarching issues on the ground, you will now understand that those contractions are like birth pangs for the birthing of something credible, something powerful, something indescribable. And I believe that that's what we are seeing concerning Nigeria and concerning Africa. We are seeing the birth pangs of a nation that is to be born. Just look at it, my friend. A nation that is to be born, and a people that are about to take their place in the Committee of Nations. So that's what we are seeing. I'm seeing birth pangs. I'm hearing the cry from the streets, but I'm not thinking despair. I'm thinking, my God, what an opportunity. Because there is no group of youth that are as motivated as Nigerian youth. There is no group of young people that is informed as Nigerian youth. I mean, the crime can be amplified and the crisis on the ground can be amplified. But we cannot deny that underneath all of that, there's a very strong, powerful surge of coherent concupiscence. And so we must celebrate that, and we must lift up our eyes, because our salvation is nearer than when we first believed.
All right, now I get what you're talking about when it comes to the Nigerian youth, but at the same time I want us to look at the security situation in the country. And we always hear cases of banditry, kidnappings, killings and the likes in different parts of the country, particularly in the northern part of the country. Why hasn't security remained so strong? And how would you say that is also affecting Nigerians as a people?
Well, concerning the security situation, of course, I live in the north. I live in Kaduna and I come from here. I have no other home to run to. And for the past 20 years, we have fought this insecurity. But our fathers fought this as well. The jihads from Sokoto didn't just start now. They started in 1804. And yet some of the greatest surges of the gospel, of preaching the gospel story, the gospel of Jesus Christ, it didn't wane. The Middle Belt has become one of the most staunch defenses of the Christian faith in our nation, and has crafted the ethos of Christianity and of believing in the Lord Jesus. So we are also rising to the challenge. And I know that insecurity has messed us up completely. You see, the real challenge with the insecurity is a conspiracy of the community. When the Niger Delta was having their own issues, which were grounded on tangible, definite reasons. Intelligent positions. Pollution, when you mess up a people's economy and ecology, and you are not taking care of them, but you are tapping oil out of there, you have not developed that delta to be anything fantastic. If you go to other countries like Houston in America, you go to Houston and you see the development there. It's the oil corridor. That's where money comes from. You see skyscrapers, you see fantastic streets. It's not heaven, but you know that this city is a wealthy city. Oil is being extracted from here. So in the Niger Delta case, they had cogent reasons, definite reasons to go to war. But it was their communities that came out and called their names for us. If not, we will never have known any militant. And we were able to stop the crisis, negotiate with them, talk with them, and then break the backbone of that uprising. But in the northern case, there is no case at all. In fact, it's a communal conspiracy. The community has conspired. You don't know who is fighting. You don't know who the bandits are. You don't know what they are looking for. You don't even know, you negotiate with bandits, they still kill the people after you have paid them, and you can't do that. You cannot do that. So insecurity is not going to last in this nation. We have cursed it. It will come to an end. It has to. It doesn't have a choice. And right now, the President of America has even joined in the fray, and we thank God for that. We thank God for that completely. And as for the East, IPOB and the rest, our appeal is that our young people, we should stop endangering the lives of our people and wrecking the economy of our community. Let us rise up. This is the time to be wise, and this is the time to rise up and take our place, so that our communities will thrive, the economies will prosper, and our ingenuity will turn into actual productive growth and increase.
All right, then, looking at the economy, and the economy is under lots of pressure, and we have the inflation rising in cost of living, the light tariff. Households are just trying to stay afloat. People are just hoping to wake up the next day and stay alive. And we have Nigerians always fall into the umbrella of pray for the country. We've been doing this for God knows how long, and things keep happening the way it happens. I'm not saying that there's no faith, but faith without works, is it really going to take us anywhere?
Wow, I'm grateful you said that. See, there's a sound of faith. If you are married and every day you have a little crisis, you are saying, I'm packing and I'm going home, I'm packing and I'm going home, I'm packing, I'm going back to my mom, I'm going back to my dad. Very soon, one day, you will have your dreams come true. Because as you are saying it, you are whittling away against the glue that keeps marriage together, the glue that keeps love together. The same thing with faith. Faith does not say, I've been praying for long. Abraham was praying for a son, and he prayed for 25 years, and the son came. Faith doesn't think of what price it has to pay. That's why I think the most popular psalm in the Bible is Psalm 23, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, because you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Faith doesn't talk like, oh, we have done this, we have done that. Every time you find yourself putting pressure on yourself and becoming anxious, you are no more talking the language of faith, at least not the God kind of faith. You are talking the language of Satan. So as much as we look foolish and stupid when we are praying, let's not use such language, because prayer is sacred, and everybody who knows what prayer, even if it's a babalawo you go to, you know that you have to treat it with sacerdotal respect. It's sacred, and you have to be careful with the language that we use. Nigerians are very full of faith, and that is one thing we must thank God for. Our nation is a godly nation. There's hardly any Nigerian who doesn't believe in God. All you need to do is enter a night bus, and then the moment you say, let us pray, everybody bows their head to pray, and they begin to say, in Jesus' name, amen. It's after we have taken care of our security that will begin to talk about our religious differences. But having said that, faith itself, prayer itself is work. Prayer is not work. For you to shut down the noise in your mind and settle down to pray is a lot of work. It took a lot of work. And I can tell you that change is coming. Change is coming. At the last election, when President Bola Tinubu said he was campaigning under a renewed hope agenda, I mean, you can be sarcastic and say what renewed hope, that's rubbish, this and that and that and that. But the point is, when you even read those slogans, what do they say? Those slogans are telling you that God is reading us right. Our people too are reading him right. And it is time for hope to be renewed and hope to be taken care of. So if we still have hope as a credo in our national discourse, it means there's hope. There's hope. And I can assure Nigerians that change is coming. Change is coming. Powerfully.
Right, I do love your optimism. Now, while we talk about, faith and hope, my colleague mentioned about the economy and the economic reforms that are currently affecting Nigerians. And we also mentioned the part about inflation. And now there is this recent tax laws or recent tax reforms that are to begin this month, or that have begun this month. Now, looking at how, the cost of living and how it is affecting Nigerians, and then we see this issue of inflation, we see this issue of economy, we see this issue of tax reforms. I'd like to get your thoughts on how you see the system, particularly our economic system, and if you even understand what these new tax laws or these new tax reforms are, because most Nigerians don't even understand the concept of it.
To be honest, it's a disgrace, some of the things that we are seeing happen. It's a disgrace that the tax czar himself will come out and say to us that they had made everything that they could into a cogent document. And when it got to the assembly, that different kinds of versions came forth. And I watched it, and trepidation caught me, and I was at my lowest just watching him saying, I don't understand what is happening and I don't know what to do, and but we are trying our best. Now, having said that, and honestly, we have had big goofs and gaffes, and I know, but I gave some people a word a few years ago when I was raising a few young people in a leadership forum, and I told them the political system in Nigeria is messed up. Political parties, at that time PDP was at the fore and in power. Today is the APC. Everybody has collapsed into the APC, and I'm not going to worry about commenting about whether that is okay or not. Of course, we know that there's value when you have a powerful opposition. A greater value is added to the value chain. So, but what I want to say today, and I want to say to all the people from ENUGU and all the people that will be tuning into this broadcast in Abuja and all over, that look, because they have the organization, they have the resources, but they will not have the credibility to be able to run in any election. And so they are doing all kinds of things to twist the electorate. But don't be afraid. Be of good cheer. Keep your name. Don't soil yourself. Keep your integrity. Your time has come, and they are going to invite you to come and lead. Then you will be at the forefront of changing the affairs of our nation. Right.
All right. Quality education, the healthcare facilities, and basic infrastructure. We have the brain drain in our system already, where people are, doing everything to move abroad. To what extent exactly? Nigerians are, if not home, are we ever going to be home?
What is being called forth for now is actually a personal initiative. Personal initiative. The nations of the world are built on what individuals built. In America, they celebrate the enterprise of America, but with individuals. Many Nigerians have even been there, and because of enterprise, have gone ahead to set up leader companies in America and to drive the technology and the discussion in that space. So that's what is being anticipated in Nigeria now. There's going to be an explosion of individual grace, talent, and strength. And we are already seeing it with our young people. They are occupying the tech space, they are occupying all kinds of spaces, and they are driving the narrative in those places. People are going to move in and learn to fly aircraft and then come back setting up their own private enterprises. I also believe a lot of people from the diaspora are going to come back. I believe that the development of Nigeria is going to be a union between those who did credible work in the diaspora and those who have credible infrastructure on the ground here, and they will work together in honesty. Nigerians are not reckless people. Nigerians are honest people. Even in the last election, I mean, we saw when the young people stood up and were crying for Peter Obi or no Peter Obi, it wasn't really about him. It was just that it was time. People were asking for something new, something that they could say, oh, this is going to work, that is not going to work. And I'm not advocating for any candidacy, but what I'm saying is there is a genre of people that is rising. There is a crop of people that is waking up, and they are going to wake up. Their individual spices are going to flow into this land, and they will bring healing to this land and bring hope again. Hope is coming back.
Now, earlier on you mentioned about, the massive defections. You didn't dwell much on it, but that also leads me to talk about, the political space in the country. Now, when we see the rate at which most political office holders are defecting now to the ruling party, and that brings me to also what is happening in Rivers State, where most of the political office holders have also defected to the APC, and there also seems to be some sort of political instability where the Rivers State House of Assembly, is still initiating impeachment proceedings to the sitting governor of the state. So I'd just like you to speak on how you see the political scene in Nigeria and also what is happening in Rivers State as it applies to the massive defection of politicians to the ruling party.
Yes. Well, it's actually disheartening. It's disheartening to the degree, there are two sides to it. You might look at it and think, oh wow, this coming together is a unanimous decision and a desire to have one voice instead of the acrimony that we have been used to, and the acrimony that does not lead to anything constructive. But the truth is, God created men with individual, God created us, each of us, with individual juices and spices and flavors that when they are put together will culminate into a great way of thinking and a great and a powerful way of intercepting things and understanding things and driving development and all of that. And so man was not designed to be controlled. God does not want us to be, unanimous, and not have any differences at all. Our differences are what make us powerful. Our differences are what make us powerful. Our differences are what bring out the spices of life. Our differences is what emphasizes the creativity in us and makes the community to flourish. So, whatever anybody people get upset and say because you can't measure God, so it's not scientific, it's not empirical, it's not a scientific way of looking at things. But friends, it's a lie. Our nation is a godly nation, and we understand the God factor. There's nobody that can rule this nation and eliminate God or send him out of the equation or the narrative. The narrative must involve him. The narrative must include him. So what is happening in Rivers State is also reprehensible. These are brothers, and these are people, former colleagues in arms. And when you are colleagues in arms, it's not right that we degenerate into fractions and begin to eat up each other. But we are praying that God is going to solve that problem, and that out of this conundrum, God is going to bring out something that is going to be a blessing to all of us. We know many times God has stepped into the Nigerian space and solved the issues on the ground for us by himself, and all of us were amazed at the way God did it. And there is nothing beyond him. Please, there's nothing beyond him. It's just that I'm not going to join those who would just be talking about woes and not talking about the progress that we're making. We're making progress. And I can assure you, there's a crop that is coming, and that crop is ready. And that crop will be empowered, and that crop is going to take its place. And that crop is not going to be tribal. That crop is not going to be that crop is not going to be tribal. That crop is not going to be sectional. That crop is going to be planted and rooted in the plans of God for our nation. Thank you very much. And my prayer for Nigeria is that television stations and media outlets like yours are going to give voice to other voices such as mine, so that they can get involved in the narrative and then give perspectives that are fresh and that are new. And I want to thank you tremendously for this opportunity. Today we are hosting a major congress in Abuja at the International Conference Center. It's called Call to All. It's a call to the church to rise up and finish the Great Commission. I think that's also going to be central in the issues of Nigeria. Nigeria has one of the most powerful churches on earth, and if we can pray properly and get our nation in line, then there is hope for us. Revival is coming, and once revival comes, the nation will be revived. Addictions will be broken in the lives of the young people. Direction will be given, and understanding and insight will come. So I'm inviting everyone to come to Call to All. It's at the International Conference Center. It's starting tomorrow in Abuja, and it will run till Saturday. And it's going to, it has attracted some of the most powerful missionary agencies all over the earth. Youth with a Mission, the Bible Campus Crusades for Christ, the U Version Bible, and all of the major missionary agencies are coming down to Nigeria to chart a course on how we finish the Great Commission.
All right, thank you so much, Chris Delvan. Let's look at the Nigerian youth population. We understand that the Nigerian youth makes up about 70% of the Nigerian population, and the population is both a challenge and an opportunity. We see the Nigerian youth doing marvelously well in the tech space, in every single field you could actually mention, people that have brought innovation into the country and also driven the economy of the country to a reasonable extent. And still, we still have people that the Nigerian youth, the aspects that are frustrated due to the construct of the Nigerian society, whereby you cannot really thrive in it if you don't have the resources for that. And do you see, and it still leads the Nigerian youth into criminal activities, as much as we have people doing very well, we also have the people that do not have the opportunity to do as well as they should, thereby it drives them into doing the wrong things. How can you encourage the Nigerian youth to go on the right path, no matter how difficult it is, to always do the right thing, and things will always get better with time, rather?
What I want to say is, if you look at the Nigerian space, it is easy for us to just zero down on what things are out of place. There will never be a time when everybody will have everything that they need all the time that they need it and all of that. Jesus said, even the great Jesus said to his disciples, the poor you always have with you. What I'm trying to say is, in 1988, let me speak from my experience. I left this country because we felt that everything in this country was a mess. And if you remember the NTA advert, there was a young man called Andrew who said, man, I'm checking out. And all of us packed our load and left this country with the intention to go to greener pastures. There's nowhere, the grass is always greener on the other side. The truth is, if you sit down and develop yourself, the resource that is in you first is not money. The resource that is in you first is the creativity that God puts on the inside. That creativity is also what you can refer to as the Spirit of God. The Bible says that there is a spirit in man and it gives him inspiration. The inspiration of the Almighty is what drives that man. There's no way anybody can use the excuse and say, oh, I don't have money, that's why I'm in crime. It's a lie. Everybody that wants to make any change does not start with money. You start with creativity. And creativity has been given to all. All our mothers had the same pair of breasts, and those breasts produced milk for us. And all of us sucked milk, whether you were born rich or born poor, whether you were in a palace or you were on the backsides of the village. And the milk came at the right temperature for everybody. And everybody sucked as much as they wanted. Their hair grew fresh, their eyes, their teeth, their bones, it even grew in stature. So none of us has any case against God. All of us have every reason to praise God and thank Him for what He has done for us. What is happening is that people have taken on a narrative that is degenerative, and they've decided that that makes more sense than anything. I mean, I saw a young man on online, and his uncle was showing me his picture. He had taken off his shirt, and he was half naked, and then he was smoking weed on social media. What are you trying to prove? And then he plaited his hairs, dreadlocks, natty dread and all of that. The truth is, he comes from a family that's well-to-do. His parents worked in the refinery. His uncles work in the refinery. All of them have access to money, but they've decided that they need to get their own pleasure now. It's a degenerative, it's deviant behavior. It is not inspired by the community. There are too many orphans that came up. I mean, Atiku Abubakar became vice president of this country, and he tells his story of how he was literally an orphan, cut off on the streets, and finally they threw him into a job, and they thought that they had got rid of him. But from there he blossomed. And he's not a perfect gentleman, but there are several stories like that of people who out of nothing became something powerful and something great. So excuses are a panacea. They kill us when we make excuses for things that we should fix. Oh, why didn't you pass your WAEC? Oh, the food in the school, the beans used to have weevils that were as big as peas. Other children ate it and they got A's in every subject. You see people going to deliberately register in a school where they know they will be helped in the exam, and that help means corruption. And you're not bothered about that. Excuse me. You should have a little bit of self-pride left in you. And parents also that encourage this should be ashamed of themselves. They should be ashamed of themselves.
Thank you so much.
So,
sorry for cutting you short. Thank you so much, Chris Delvin, for joining us this morning.
Yes.
All right.
We are local.
International communities observing just finished the
Why the main market is in chaos. People
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye. Aye.
We have taken the vote by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Nyebuchi Aneke, who is a safety analyst and is also an outdoor publicity expert. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Good
morning. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here.
Okay, so looking at the fact that we are in the Yuletide season, how would you describe the current security atmosphere in Nigeria, knowing that people would be on the road throughout this period?
Well, there's been a joke over the social media lately, that when you compare the ransom you have to pay when you get kidnapped, and the cost of a flight ticket now, you see that the latter is more advisable. That's to say that the security is not too wonderful right now, so people need to take certain precautionary measures and ensure that they are safe. That's the most important thing. That's the ultimate goal. If you must travel, please make sure that especially the Abuja ENUGU route or the Abuja to the eastern route access, make sure you do that through flying. It's that bad. If you're not going to fly, it's a 50-50 chance of losing your everything, especially losing yourself to your family.
Well, it's quite interesting. They said everyone should endeavor to fly. I mean, not everyone can even afford the ticket to fly.
So remember where you are.
But when we talk about personal and corporate safety, what does that entail? And how does one, apart from the flying or traveling by road, what are the things that constitute personal and corporate safety?
Well, let's take it one after another. For personal safety, there are certain expectations you need to activate to stay safe. One is you have to be in the right place at the right time. You have to use your intuitions. That's your inner self. It works up to 95%. You need to travel in the daytime. You need to use regularly known routes. Of course, now you shouldn't carry large cash around and so on. Those are things that can put you on a very good safety lane. But when you come to the corporate safety world, or the corporate safety as the case may be, you'd realize that you need to improve your digital technologies too, because the times, the festive period or this Hamatan period has its own disadvantages. Particularly, you need to work on your firefighting capabilities to ensure that wildfires that can come from around don't engulf you. You need to also ensure that your staff are trained properly on how to ensure that company assets, company stuffs are secured. It's not that it ordinarily should be a continuous training exercise, but for this particular time, there's increased. I attended a training seminar 2 days ago, and it was very revealing that a lot of people who just employ people to work for them, a lot of entrepreneurs or a lot of business owners who just employ people to work for them don't ensure or don't give them the requisite safety training, and you'll be so disappointed, like it's a time bomb waiting to happen. They don't know how to activate protocols, safety protocols. So this is where the corporate world should really look at this period to ensure that they are reasonably safe.
Okay, so how can individuals really balance, staying security conscious without living in constant fear as well?
To be alive in Nigeria, some people say it's a miracle. I don't think so. I think to be alive in Nigeria means you need to first believe in God. The government are not doing enough because there's so much decay in public safety. So the investments you make over time don't have sufficient returns. ENUGU is trying. I keep commending the governor, but I'm sure he can do more. He can really do more by ensuring that the people not only are safe, but they feel extremely very safe. It is beyond digital surveillance, no. It is also beyond physical security patrol, as the case may be. It involves going to the root cause with force, and if you say you don't negotiate with criminals, then you should be able to enhance the security architecture of those who fight crimes. There's a lot that needs to be done. The morale of the people who are also law enforcement agents need to be boosted. recently we saw that the forest guards were armed with advanced pump action machine guns and all that. Those are really commendable, but beyond that, they should also invest in intelligence gathering. It is the intelligence gathering that ensures that before things get to happen, they are fully aware and they are neutralized. It is once you neutralize it that it doesn't happen, that you now talk of a system or a society, a community being safe. But if it has to happen and you are reacting, usually you'll be overwhelmed because you won't know how many more of their attacks are still waiting to be happen, to occur. So in that case, just to answer your question directly, people need to believe in government because, of course, only government, the only duty, the most important responsibility of government is the security and the welfare of the people. So if the people trust that their security and welfare, you can forgive their welfare, but the security, they should sleep their two eyes closed, knowing that Governor Peter Mba is working, knowing that Simi Fubara is working in his state, and every other leaders, including local government chairman, and even the president and commander-in-chief, is working on their safety.
Right. Now, when we talk about safety, most times it's usually in terms of violence or stealing or killing, kidnapping and things like that. But what about other forms of insecurity as well? What would you say are the emerging threats that individuals and organizations face when it comes to security in other aspects apart from the one that we all are conversant with, which is, you know, killing, kidnapping, stealing, and all the other ones?
Well, you know, security breaches, or what you call criminalities, don't just happen. People, criminals, and these perpetrators of violence are always ahead of the game. They take opportunities. They see opportunities, like business people see opportunities in areas where they want to invest. Criminals also see loopholes. Oh, I passed here the other time, their fence wire is bad. The next time he looks at it again and he sees that, wow, he could actually invade. The third time, maybe he wants to surveil and see if there is dogs, like the kind of dogs you have in your studio, in your compound here. And if there is none, he begins to draw his own map. So you cannot say what level of violence or which kind of violence is to be expected. Just keep yourself safe, keep your property safe, like we have mentioned earlier, and ensure that reasonably you have control over your environment, over your personal safety. For instance, meaning that you have to be exposed for you to be a threat. Once you are always careful, you check your things, you park your vehicles in a mall or in a public place, you double check that your vehicle is safe, all right, and ensure that people are looking at your vehicle, not in a hidden place, you know, and don't carry large chunks of cash, because these criminals, they know how to trace people who move around with money. And you'll be so surprised, they'll tell you somebody had a very heat, they struck and took the money, just the money. Maybe they are trailing him from the bank, maybe they saw a transaction that gave him cash and all that. So we all need to be careful, because just like sugars invite ants, people who live austerous lifestyles, people who live loud lifestyles, as the case may be, people who are careless also invite criminals, because the criminals want it free, they want it cheap. They don't want to work for it.
Okay, so in today's digital world where we are vulnerable to certain cyber threats, you know, so what kind of steps can we take in order to keep the basic cyber hygiene, you know, to avoid threats like this?
Well, what we just discussed is the physical. The cyber attacks are digital, right? And every company who have an online presence is reasonably exposed to attacks. And I think majorly all businesses, every serious business have online presence. So therefore, make sure that if you have a website, they are sufficiently, your SSL is updated. If you do things, you know, maybe ethical hackings, or you do certain transactions, like your studio, your company, you do certain transactions, you need to ensure that you have a cyber security specialist or advisor who can from time to time help you vet your infrastructure and ensure that they can predict or they can forecast possible threats and begin to analyze them and also neutralize them before it comes to phishing.
Now let's talk about being safety conscious.
Yes.
Because of a high rate of insecurity of different kinds, most people are scared, and instead of becoming aware, they panic.
Yes.
So how do we educate people to be safety and security conscious without creating that fear or panic in them?
You know, you can ensure that people get exposed to certain things they need to do on certain occasions. For instance, if you are kidnapped, there should be a public awareness program about how to react to a kidnap incident. If you are picked up, there are certain things you should do. There are certain strategies you should employ. And the principle of all of them is to cooperate with your captives. You know, you should cooperate with them to ensure that first you stay alive. Then secondly, cooperate with them to get your relatives or your friends to know about your situation. What they are interested in is money. They are not interested in killing you. They are holding you hostage so that they can negotiate your freedom and earn money. It's also another way of stealing. The difference is that these people steal human beings, or they hold human beings in ransom, and the other people steal devices and assets. So these people know that for you to be kidnapped, you definitely will have a kidnap value, you know, and sometimes they strike without knowing who is involved. And you see that even the people you think don't have sufficient kidnap value or ransom value end up bringing huge sums of money. So now people should be aware if their house is broken into, that's maybe there's a burglary into their apartments, into their offices, they should know who to call. If there is fire outbreak, they should have the numbers of the firefighting officers who to speak to. So once people are aware of all those, they see security awareness as part of their plans in the case of eventuality. That is why in the US or in advanced countries, you see people who are just satisfied. Once they see something, they say something, they pick up their phone and call 399 or 199 or 311. Nigeria is trying to have a unified code that can you can call out in terms of emergencies. So that is how the citizens would be panic free they need to be aware what to do in all situations. So by the time they know what to do, their fear level drops. They know that after all, once they have this, they can just call. And they should trust that the call they are putting out would yield positive value. Otherwise, it still comes to the field system, where you call the security agency and you have to start explaining without evidence. Did you see them? How many guns and all that? That's how citizens should leave panic.
So how can businesses, just as businesses, ensure employee safety? I mean, there are some offices that won't close for the year, even with this rising insecurity challenges. And what can these employees also do in key times like this too?
Well, it's two ways. The employer should, of course, improve on the existing security structures or plan that have taken the company through from January to December. Yes, there are also companies that work 24-hour cycle, that don't go on holidays, so that they keep entertaining the people, like TV stations and radio stations, and if you like to most essential service providers. So for the citizens, they have to, for the staff, the workers, the staffers, they need to support and cooperate with those advanced policies of safety. They shouldn't see it as, you are trying to improve, you are trying to invade their privacies, right? And they should just see it as extreme measures in extreme situations. Because guess what? By the time they go into the Yuletide proper, maybe as from next week, there is the possibility, it's usually a known possibility, that there is increased attacks, right? In the outdoor advertising industry, people can come out in broad daylight and lose flex banners on billboards that they don't own. Why? Because a lot of people have gone to their own communities, their villages, and as it is, there is little or no interest. Even the law enforcement agents too have to travel and spend good times with their families. They also have families. They also have expectations, and the Umunna general meeting at the end of the year. So, and there are going to be a lot of security lapses or security gaps that these criminals can invade. So employers, strengthen your policies, especially into when it has to do with access control. And for employees, please cooperate so that you don't see it as a witch hunt. And this is what we ensure that companies and staff.
Thank you so much, Onyebuchi, for joining us this morning.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming. Pleasure to be here.
Our guest, Onyebuchi Aneke, he's a safety analyst and outdoor publicity expert. Of course, we looked at the personal and corporate safety measures in times like this. So if you're out there and you're planning on traveling to see your loved ones, or even though you're not traveling, you're just going to be around, you should watch this interview and pick up some of the safety measures that you should imply in your day-to-day activities. We'll go on a short break and we'll be back.
New every morning on Signature TV, we open the day for you with needed energy, information, and required vibes to shape your day. From sizzling snippets of stories in various areas of life to intriguing conversations with net worth guests.
When you have people who have no track record becoming your leaders, you have a problem.
There's no outstanding gratuity when Obi took over from me. I left in all the accounts of Anambra State 13.8 billion.
Signature TV, news in your pocket. Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking. Events occur and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
New every morning on Signature TV, we open the day for you with needed energy, information, and required vibes to shape your day. From sizzling snippets of stories in various areas of life to intriguing conversations with net worth guests.
When you have people who have no track record becoming your leaders, you have a problem.
There's no outstanding gratuity when Obi took over from me. I left in all the accounts of Anambra State 13.8 billion for him.
Your day cannot be complete without Signature Morning on weekdays and Signature New Day on weekends. There is no better way to start your day except Signature Morning and Signature New Day every day on Signature TV.
Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Health is more than a diagnosis. It's your lifestyle, your choices, and your future. Join us on Inside Health, your weekly deep dive into the stories, science, and solutions shaping your well-being. From expert interviews to real-life journeys of healing and hope, we cover it all.
One of the complications of cancer management or treatment is they have some of them at one point in time, you see them having anemia. Okay, so you see them at times being transfused. But at the same time, you come in with a diet.
Nutrition, mental health, innovations in medicine, fitness, and everyday wellness. Whether you're managing a condition, staying informed, or just living your best life, Inside Health is your trusted guide.
I'm Chigichi Agorum, and I'll be with you every week on Inside Health, only on Signature TV.
Bright and early as the day breaks, as the newspaper headlines trail the stories that shape the day. We at Signature TV trail the headlines that trail the day. We interrogate the headlines. We analyze the stories that make the headlines.
Wayek is overrated, and they even overrated themselves, and when you go see it, they are insensitive of some Nigerian children who have never had what they call CBT.
With passion and emotion, we drive the conversation to change a narrative.
Let nobody be deceived by Nigerian high level of performing in agriculture export. We are still where we are.
Newspaper review on Signature TV every morning on Signature Morning, weekdays, and Signature New Day, weekends. Newspaper review on Signature TV. We do not just review the headlines, we make the headlines relevant to our daily lives.
The way we see the world shapes the way we change it. Gender isn't just a checkbox, it's a lens. One that helps us understand the world more deeply and act more fairly. Gender Perspectives, a program for those ready to see more, do more, and be more. Designed to challenge assumptions, ignite conversations, and build inclusive solutions across every sector of society.
We are not, fighting the men. We are not saying we are equal in terms of rights. We're only asking they should recognize our existence.
Join us on Gender Perspectives, showing every Saturday by 4 p.m. Repeat every Wednesdays by 5 p.m. and Thursdays by 3 p.m. Change begins with perspective. Let's widen yours.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Health is more than a diagnosis. It's your lifestyle, your choices, and your future. Join us on Inside Health, your weekly deep dive into the stories, signs, and solutions shaping your well-being. From expert interviews to real-life journeys of healing and hope, we cover it all.
One of the complications of cancer management or treatment is they have some of them at one point in time, you see them having anemia. Okay, so you see them at times being transfused. But at the same time, you come in with a diet.
Nutrition, mental health, innovations in medicine, fitness, and everyday wellness. Whether you're managing a condition, staying informed, or just living your best life, Inside Health is your trusted guide.
I'm Tigiti Agorum, and I'll be with you every week on Inside Health, only on Signature TV.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Welcome to another exciting and insightful episode of Gender Perspectives on Signature TV. And as always, we look at all gender-related issues in our society as it affects men and women. And as always, we have an interesting topic for you today. But first, we will go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll talk about that. Don't forget, I am Uchenna Chimdi Oluoha. Stay with us.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking. Events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Welcome back. You are watching Gender Perspectives on Signature TV. Well, our topic today is going to be bordering on traditional gender roles and stereotypes. And of course, we know that gender roles are social norms that are deemed appropriate or desirable for individuals based on their gender or sex. And gender roles are usually centered on conceptions of masculinity and femininity. And the specifics regarding these gender expectations may vary among cultures, while other characteristics may be common throughout a range of cultures. And in addition, gender roles and perceived gender roles vary based on a person's race or ethnicity. So let's get more information about this from the background reports.
Traditional gender roles and stereotypes are deeply ingrained societal expectations that define how men and women should behave based on historical and cultural norms. These roles have been shaped by centuries of social, economic, religious, and political influences, often dictating career choices, family roles, and personal behavior. While some traditional gender roles are evolving, stereotypes still persist, affecting individuals and societies in profound ways. Traditional gender roles emerged from early human societies where survival depended on distinct labor divisions, where men typically hunted and protected the group and women gathered food, cared for children, and managed domestic responsibilities. Different religious and cultural traditions such as Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, and others have shaped gender expectations. Many of these traditions continue to influence gender norms today, though interpretations have evolved over time. Men have historically been expected to be providers, protectors, decision makers, and emotionally resilient. Women, on the other hand, have traditionally been seen as caretakers, nurturers, submissive partners, modest and reserved. These stereotypes have influenced education, employment, and social expectations for generations. These gender roles have highly impacted individuals in various ways. Men may struggle with emotional suppression, leading to higher rates of depression and suicide. Women may experience anxiety due to societal pressure to meet unrealistic beauty or caregiving standards. Women often face barriers in male-dominated industries, while men in caregiving roles face stigma. People who do not conform to traditional gender roles may experience social rejection or discrimination. Rigid gender roles contribute to gender-based violence, harassment, and unequal treatment in legal systems. In recent decades, social movements, legal reforms, and globalization have challenged traditional roles. Women have gained more access to education and employment. Men are increasingly involved in parenting and household duties. Traditional gender roles and stereotypes have deep historical roots and continue to shape societies worldwide. While some norms are evolving, stereotypes still create barriers for individuals and reinforce inequality. Addressing these issues requires education, policy changes, and cultural shifts to create more equitable opportunities for all genders.
Traditional gender roles and stereotypes refer to the expectations society places on individuals based on their perceived gender. And these roles are often deeply ingrained in culture, history, and social structures. Well, men are typically expected to be providers, protectors, and decision makers. They are often associated with strength, assertiveness, and leadership, while women are traditionally seen as caregivers, nurturers, and homemakers. They are expected to be gentle, emotional, and supportive. Well, to throw more light on this discussion, we have an interview with Lady Jane Ndukwe. She is a mentor, an educator, and an advocate of respect and true humanity and kindness worldwide ambassador. So we're going to take a listen to this interview and hear what she has to say about traditional gender roles and stereotypes. Enjoy. Welcome, Lady Jane. Thank you so much for joining us on our program today.
Thank you.
You look so lovely. Thank you. It's always a pleasure seeing you, really.
Thank you.
So, well, you know, today we are looking at traditional gender roles and stereotypes in our society. And I know you have a lot to say about that, so let's just get right into the gist of the day. So first of all, what do you understand by traditional gender roles? Like, what does it mean to you? Gender roles and stereotypes.
Okay, so gender roles, to me, traditional gender roles means that there are roles that are specific to the gender,
okay,
you know, traditionally. So traditionally, we're looking at culture, religion, what society says the man ought to do and what the woman ought to be doing. And then stereotypes are the ones that, you know, when you have a bias, you know, against maybe a gender or how something is done or perceived. You know, so then you have this stereotype that, for instance, that says girls are maybe inferior, you know, to men. You know, that's a stereotype. That's a belief that isn't right.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, and can you like walk us through the various types of gender roles and stereotypes that society has for men and women, and like how this has shaped, you know, expectations, like how what society expects from both genders?
Well, society expects that the woman belongs to the home front, you know, and so she is groomed from birth, to cook, clean, man the home.
Yes, take care of the children,
take care of the children
and
and everything, So then you would find that in the traditional setting, the male child is just not allowed, well, no, I won't use the word allowed, but is not supposed to be in the kitchen. It's not supposed to cook and clean. It's the woman's, it's for the woman, it's for the girl child. So that's a gender role and stereotype, a traditional one. So, and then another one is that the woman does not inherit, properties.
Yes.
And then going back on the first one that I mentioned, the girl child is already groomed for marriage.
Yes.
So if she doesn't get married early enough,
at a certain
age, it's as if what has gone wrong with her, So people begin to talk and, pass some very unwholesome comments, to the family. And another one is education. Back in the days, it was like, you don't really need to educate the girl child. Why do you bother? She's going to be somebody's wife.
And we still have these days.
So those are the things, when you talk about, that's how tradition perceives each gender, the girl and the boy, in
you've spoken,
society.
You've spoken, much on the female, their roles and stereotypes. So what about
the boy? So the society expects that the boy child grows up into a man that provides. He takes up headship of the home. So he's already being groomed, in that way, to head, to lead, and he is the ultimate provider and the protector. And it's like his word is law.
Yes.
Final. It's final. So and then if he's unable to do that, it becomes a problem.
Yes. His masculinity
is questioned.
Yes.
So these are the traditional roles, that we attribute to gender.
Yes. There is one that's quite striking, particularly when it comes to boys. When they say they shouldn't show emotion.
I forgot that one. Yes. So that they shouldn't show. A boy doesn't cry.
Yes.
So that has actually led to too many mental health issues among our boy children. Because they face a lot of trauma, stress, but in quotes, boys don't cry.
So
they bottle it up, and then you now begin to hear. In fact, there's a higher from research, a higher suicide rate in boys than girls. I read it somewhere. I can't quite remember where I saw that. So and it could stem from this stereotype. This belief that says boys shouldn't cry. But we now know better that that really isn't so. That doesn't work.
Yeah, that's actually true. And the opposite of that is that women are also over emotional.
Yes. So when a woman freaks out, she's being emotional. So if she complains, don't mind her. That's one thing. She's being emotional.
And even when some men show emotion, say, why are you acting like a woman? That's the society we find ourselves in, unfortunately. Do you have any personal or observed experience where these roles and stereotypes have influenced, life choices or people in one way or another?
Yeah. For instance, in the choice of courses, that our children study, at the university. then it used to be that only men could do engineering courses, and there were certain courses that were predominantly male.
Yes.
I think it was yesterday on television that I heard a woman. She was saying she studied engineering, and then she found herself in a male-dominated field. And I think either she was the only woman or something like that. So yes, it does affect our choices, and then it also affects our perception, on marriage, for instance, what is acceptable, So for the fact that we feel that the man's word is law, so the wife, is not expected to speak. She just toes the husband's whatever thing that he has set up, that must be done, must be observed in the house. I mean, just before I came in, I was listening to the radio when somebody was mentioning or referring back to our past president, when he referred to his wife as belonging to the other room,
yes.
When she was trying to advise, or make a suggestion or something to him, So you find a lot of cases like that, where the woman is not really expected to speak. So whatever the husband says and does, whether they're right or wrong, everybody just chooses that line.
And do you think that the idea the younger generation have concerning gender roles and stereotypes, do you think it is what it is supposed to be? Do you have any? What is your thoughts or your thought process as to the idea of gender roles and stereotypes and how the younger generation perceive it to be?
Well, as one who mentors young people, I have heard, like some young ladies, some young girls speak about, in fact, they don't even see gender roles, because it's as though what the man can do, the woman can do, So if he wants to be a leader, I want to be a leader. If he's chasing his career, I want to chase my career. So they see that. So some don't also see, in quotes, the man is head in the home. I've heard some younger girls speak about, well, what's in a marriage? They don't even want to get married. They don't want all this. I'm not cut out for this. And I've also heard on what the younger generation, see. So, for instance, I've heard some say something like, we're working. Don't expect me to cook. There was a young lady, she was sharing with me. A guy invited her out and was waiting for her to come and cook. And then she said, no, what happened to ordering something? That's not what I'm coming to do. So there's a shift, there's a change in the way the younger generation, perceive this issue of gender role.
So you personally, what do you think about this shift? Do you think the younger people are misunderstanding it, or are misrepresenting it, or being too extreme with their thought process and the way they are seeing this idea of?
I want to look at it in this dimension. If what we project as gender roles, and how it should be practiced was maybe better understood, if we understood the essence of gender roles, because I believe in gender roles. Let's start from that. I believe in gender roles, and I believe in the beauty of balance and complementarity. Okay? So now, if we had those thoughts of complementarity and balance, as well as mutual respect, three things, then perhaps perhaps the younger generation would not have this misunderstanding that seems to persist on gender roles. So, I'll give you an example. Now, when a woman is seen as inferior to the man, the younger generation is saying, well, I'm not inferior to any man because you've gone to school. Perhaps she was even the brightest one in the class.
Yes.
So she's now asking herself, why are you telling me that I'm inferior to the man? So she can't see what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know, when I was a young girl, there were certain things that my grandmother and other older women, you know, said about what is acceptable in a marriage. I mean, you will be so surprised to hear, you know, they told me that it's acceptable, you know, for the man to just whip the woman to shape, you know, to control her.
Really?
Yes. You know?
Wow.
So, and they accepted that as the social norm. You know? So they didn't see anything that was wrong with it. But you cannot say that to the modern generation. You know, that just slap her and whip her up to shape. You know? And even I, as old as I am, I frowned on it when that was being told to me. Not to talk about, you know, like my daughter's age mates and, you know, telling me they can't see such things.
Exactly.
You know? So, now, if you permit me to just speak on why I say I believe in the beauty of balance, complementarity, and mutual respect as regards to gender roles.
Of course.
Now, I like to go back to inception, the way our Creator ordained things. I wasn't there, but I read a lot, you know, and I observe, you know, from what is happening in my community. I experience, and I can come up with something that says, now the man, you know, was formed. He is the closer one to the woman. The woman was made to be more delicate, okay, and with what I call the intuition, finer intuition. The man also has it, but it's a rougher intuition. So now, with the way the man was factored or formed, you know, just like any machine, and you configure it for a function. So he was configured, you know, if I may use that word, for leadership, for roles that are hard, that are strong, you know, for protection. You know, if there's anything, that's the man's role. Now, in each human being, there's a bit of a feminine and masculine part. Now, the man developed the masculine, you know, side of him and pushed away all the, you know, which was now put into the woman that was developed after the man was developed. If we go back to story of evolution and all that, okay. So now the woman was configured for nurturing, for caring, okay. Now she has all these features: intuition, collaboration, creativity, you know, and these are very beautiful features.
Yeah.
Okay, when we talk about 21st century skills, I mean, these things that I mentioned are the things that we're calling for in today's world. So you can imagine the woman bringing all that into leadership. You know, then there'll be forward looking. There's a broader perspective. Okay, now the man on his own has all the aggressive, not in a wrong way, you know, he's built for that which is strong and hard. He can rough it out, he can, you know, he has the stamina. Now, picture where two of them understand their roles. And again, I want to also throw this out, that no gender is is superior to the other, and no role is better than the other. So now this is where yes, I have to bring yes to say that. So now you can imagine where the man understands his role, the woman understands her role, and then they come together. You know, they come together to balance each other. You know, because there are things that the man is unable to do, is unable to perceive as a woman would. You know, so when he lacks in those areas, because that's not the way he was configured. So if he understands his role and understands the woman's role, so where he is lacking, the woman supplements or complements. Now, where she is lacking, the man complements. So there is a balance. They balance each other. There's unity, there's mutual respect, and there's a harmony. That's really how it's meant to be. But when you step out of the roles and then you, oh, this, I don't want to do this anymore. You can imagine a car, you know, that has been designed to drive on a smooth road, you know? Yeah. And then you now decide, no, I'm not going to drive it on any smooth road. You know, I'm just going to go through gullies, I'm going to go through water, I'm going to go by air with this car that was not configured for that. Then there'll be trouble, which is what we're facing today. You know, the trouble we're facing today. So now you have men and women stepping out of their roles. You know?
So are you saying that a man cannot nurture, cannot care, and do all of that? And are you saying that a woman cannot step into that leadership role and, you know, take on some of those features that...
Okay. Now, a man cannot nurture. He can do the bit he can, but he wasn't wired for that. That's why you see in a home front, you know, the woman is the one who is teaching values to her children. She's the one who is making sure that the home front is sound. Sound in health, sound in thinking, you know, and then there's stability and there's peace. That is the woman's role, because she has this intuition which guides. It's like a moral compass, you know, the inner voice that guides her in the choices that she's making, you know. And whether we acknowledge it or not, you know, when a home, I'll paint two pictures of a home front now. Now let us paint picture home number one. Now there's a man and then the wife and children. So the man understands, okay, yes, I am head of the home. He's not lording it over the wife. You know, he's not saying I'm more superior, but I'm the head of the home as the way it's been ordained. But she is the neck that carries the head. So if she doesn't move the neck, the head doesn't move. That's really the way it's meant to be. You know, because of that intuition, that guidance that she offers, that ability to see beyond what is just merely physical or whatever, I don't know how else to paint it. But because she is being guided from her inside, you know, so she has foresight.
Yes.
You know, and she's able to direct, if I may use that word, direct, you know. She inspires. You know, she's able to say, okay, this is what I perceive. This is how I'm seeing something, you know. The man who appreciates what she's bringing will not say, go and shut up, don't tell me anything. He would think about it, you know. And then once he sees, I never imagined this, you know, and then he acts on it because he is the one that executes what she is directing. And then things work out. The children are well grounded, you know. So now in that kind of home setting, children coming out of that type of home become useful to society. Now let's paint another picture of another home. Two leaders, two heads. One refuses to bow to the other one. I'm just as good as you. You cannot come and tell me to do this. I'm heading, a powerful unit in my office where men and women bow to me. So both of them now come back with their very powerful jobs. They have everything in their house, big house, gadgets, money, the whole lot. But one thing they do not have, sound children. Because those children, by the time they come back from their very powerful work, the children have gone to sleep, or, children are just left to more or less raise themselves.
Yes.
And then there's a problem, because if there's no support, if there's no guidance, just like a computer, if you don't garbage in, garbage out. So if you don't put in any values, if you don't put it, because everybody is, I will not agree. There's this thing, I can't remember what it was. Check. I can't remember. There was a word that was being used last year about I won't grieve for you or something
Okay,
like that.
is it no grief for anybody?
No grief for anybody, but there was another thing. Pochili or something
Okay,
like that.
pochili, yes.
So everybody is doing pochili,
Yeah.
and then the whole home front is ruined. I like I keep mentioning, I work with young people, as a mentor. And I have heard, them come to me, can I confide in you, man? And then they've said some things. I also studied counseling. So they've said some things that, in counseling, you're not supposed to show surprise, so that they're able to speak on.
Yeah.
But when I now ask, have you shared this with your parents? They're not there. They don't listen. They're too busy. And we've had cases where children have gone into drugs, gone into all sorts, because they're listening to their peers, they're using the drugs, they're using all those things to mask the pain or whatever it is that they're passing through. And when you check, much of it is coming from their home. So
Yes.
I have painted two different homes,
Yes.
and you look at it, and then that's why I keep calling for balance. I'm not saying that the woman should not work. By all means, work. But your primary assignment is your home. That's your constitution. That's where it starts. If you're able to raise well-mannered and well-grounded children, you will reap the benefits.
Just to understand you better, you're basically saying that it is primarily the woman's job to do the raising of the children.
Okay.
In the home.
That's basically, yes. The man also helps. Can you see where the balance now comes?
Helps.
Yes, it helps in the home. I'm not saying he goes to go and wash plates. If he wants to wash plates, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
If your wife, maybe you've seen there's some cases where husband and wife, it's just that they don't have helpers. So the man also, maybe she's cooking and he's helping to wash the dishes or get the children ready or help with homework and all that. That's the balance we're looking for.
You spoke about mutual respect when it comes to acknowledging the importance and the beauty of this gender role.
Yes.
I would like to know, what do you think is the role or the influence of religion and culture when it comes to this particular thing? Because it is something, people always refer to it in our culture, women, the religion, women or men, and it can lead to this idea of superiority, like you said, of feeling like one person is better than the other. So I would like to...
Okay, I'm going to say something. I hope they don't have my neck, but I'm going to say something. You mentioned culture, religion. Now, this culture that we talk about, set up by human beings, And I'm sorry to say, some of the things that we refer to as culture were set up to put control, okay, over certain things, and especially the women folk. Yeah. Okay? So now culture is good, but it evolves. It should evolve. There are certain areas of the culture that were set at times when people maybe didn't have quite as much knowledge as we have, and exposure as we have now. And you cannot continue to carry that into today's world when today the children don't even understand what you're talking about, and then imposing it on them. You know, some areas of our culture, yes, culture should evolve. Yeah. Really. That's how it's meant to be. Culture should evolve. You know, but certain things don't seem to be evolving in our own culture because it helps to put a check, put control. And who are the people who actually set up the culture? I don't think it was the women.
Of course not. Yeah.
You know?
Well, back then it was more of a patriarchal society, so it was more of, like I said, the superiority factor.
You know?
Yes.
So, and that was said because of lack of understanding. You know, because if we had a better understanding, especially in the religious setting now, you know, because you would hear when there's a problem, you know, and a woman raises an issue that she's passing through in her home, the first thing she's told, go and be submissive.
Yes, that word has been used, and even in religious circles, it has become a mantra.
Do you know, it will shock you that if I say this, because I do not belong to the traditional religious setting, you know? Submission is not of human beings. Submission is actually of the animals, not human beings. That's why even in slavery, it was difficult to get the people to really, truly submit. It was beaten out of them. Because a human being has free will. Yeah. And that's the way God ordained it. So because of that free will, it's difficult to now beat in submission into a normal human being.
Whether male
or female.
Yes.
You know? So when we continue to misunderstand creation, you know, and the roles of man and woman as it's meant to be, then we have problems. So we use our intellect to figure out, okay, you know, this is how it should be here, this is how it should be there, you know. But if we listen to the voice of conscience, then you will now begin to see that, this thing I'm doing is not really right. Because you forget, if you can do that to another woman, another person's child that you call your wife, remember you have a sister, you have a daughter, you have nieces. I mean, I want to bring it closer to your daughter. You know, if a man treats your daughter the way you treat your wife, would you as a man take it? That should be a point of reflection.
Yes.
Except if you're saying you don't love your daughter. You know?
Yeah.
But if it's a man who loves his daughter and he knows that he mistreats or he totally disregards and disrespects his wife, you know, then he would ask himself, I wouldn't want to see that being done to my daughter. This whole thing of respect, I'm very keen on respect. I teach it.
Yeah.
I give it. I live it.
Yes. And before we go, how do you think these roles contribute to gender violence and discrimination in society?
Let me, before I answer that question, the roles themselves, they genuine roles of the man and the woman are not where the problem. That's not where the problem is.
Yes.
It's the problem is not the role assigned to the man and to the woman. Whether we acknowledge it or not, that's how it is. You know, just like when you have a glass of water, you as far as you're concerned, it's clean, it's pure, because that's all you're seeing. But somebody who brings a gold begins to see some living organisms and all sorts in that same water that you call pure. So whether we like it or not, those rules are there to guide the way we relate with one another, you know, to bring about unity, to bring about togetherness, that's harmony, you know, and growth. Because you don't, one person, like I said, there's no man without woman, there's no woman without man. It has nothing to do with marriage, you know, because every man has a womanly influence. It could be a mother, grandmother, sister, friend, whatever, you know. So, back to your question, how misunderstanding these roles have led to gender violence and discrimination, you know, because we have not understood those roles and they're rarely spoken about and the benefits, and we have not, because if you don't understand something, you can't practice it.
Yeah.
So because we've not understood, we've not been able to practice it, because if we practice it aright, then the younger generation looking at us will be happy to also toe the same line. But because we've not practiced it the way it should be, then instead what we have done is the way we raise children, you know, the parents already make the boy to know you're the superior one. No, you don't go to the kitchen. You know, send your sister to go and bring whatever. He comes back, where's my food? Where's my this? And she just goes along doing that. And the parents accept that because that's the way they were also raised, you know? So because of that misconception, and what we have now done is propagated competition instead of collaboration.
Yes.
So now we now have where the other one feels I'm more superior. I'm speaking, you don't speak. You know, so any little thing triggers off and then there's gender violence. You know? But if we truly, I keep going back to this same point, if we truly understand gender roles the way it ought to be and ought to be practiced and ought to bring about balance and bring about collaboration, you know, then there will be mutual respect. And where there's mutual respect, there's no abuse.
Yeah, so we're running out of time, but I want to just note that because of all of this starts from the home, and it spills over into the workplace, the schools, you know, just society in general. Because when this mentality of superiority comes in, even in the workplace, you find the man looking down on his female counterparts. If he has a female boss, he looks down at her like, why would you be telling me what to do? And it also goes, you know, the other way around as well. So just some final words. What are your final words to our viewers as to how to change their perception and their ideas surrounding gender roles and stereotypes?
Okay, with the little that we have shared, you know, I'm hoping that the people listening to us would rethink in the way children are being raised. You know, like our final word would be, no gender is superior to the other, and no role is more important. You know, so even a stay-home wife, I'm giving an example now, a stay-home wife that you think, okay, what is she bringing? You know, she's just cooking and cleaning and raising the children and keeping it. The day she stops doing that, that man will not function. He will not function. You know, she's preparing that home, making it livable, making it harmonious, making it a sanctuary. That's the only way the man is able to think clearly and take good decisions when he goes to work. So he has to respect her and appreciate what she's bringing on board. I'm just giving an example of a stay-home wife, you know, and then they are the ones that, you know, people would say, we don't even regard. Why can't you go and get a job? You don't know that what she's bringing on is a full, making sure that he is healthy, she's making sure the meals are right, everywhere is clean. She's bringing it, just like on our streets. The day the cleaners, the sweepers, decide, okay, we're not doing it, then we would now know the importance of those sweepers. Okay. You know? So we need to be able to appreciate one another. You know, and I keep saying, there's no man without woman, and there's no woman without man. You know? Yeah. So let us appreciate what each one is bringing and respect. Because when we have that mutual respect, then we have peace, then we have harmony, and then we're happy. And we can progress. That doesn't mean the woman cannot work, but go and work. But remember, your primary assignment is your home. Don't relegate it to the background, expecting house help to do something for you. The house help will not raise your children.
And it also goes...
It goes the other way,
yes. Yes. Wow. This conversation, I don't want it to end, but sadly, we have to call it a day for this discussion. Thank you so much for your insights. I learned a lot, and I'm sure our viewers have a lot to take home from this. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, we'll be going on a short break right now, and Gender Perspective continues. Stay with us. Wow, that was a very interesting conversation we had right there with Lady Jane Ndukwe. And like I said, I hope we all have something to take home from her opinions about this discussion. Well, gender roles and stereotypes have shaped societies for generations, influencing how men and women are expected to behave, work, and interact. But in today's world, are these traditional expectations still relevant, or are they changing? We hit the streets to hear what people think about gender roles, the stereotypes that come with them, and how they impact our daily lives. Do people still believe that men should be providers and women should be caregivers? Well, let's hear what they have to say.
To my own knowledge, gender role and stereotypes are those expectations that the society and the people, family expect from men and women, you know, to carry out in any situation. It can be from the woman or from the man. In the case of the woman, a woman is expected to be the one to nurture a home. A woman is expected to take care of her family. A woman is expected to take care of her husband without complaints. And you are expected to look good from beginning to the end. You are expected to look classy. You are expected to, you know, represent. You understand? So a woman also is expected to, okay, in the olden days, you know, when women were not even allowed to go to school. You remember when women were not even allowed to go to school? Okay, there is a popular saying that says, education of women ends in kitchen. I don't know how to put it together. You know, in the traditional version, women don't have a say in a cabinet meeting where chiefs are gathered. Women don't have a say to change any rule in a family. Women don't even have the right to give her daughter out in marriage. A woman cannot go to the farm in the traditional aspect. You cannot go to the farm and start cultivating and harvesting. It is a taboo in some parts of Nigeria. You cannot carry what is it called, a hoe or a cutlass to start, you know, digging. You want to make ridges, you know, make your crops grow and every other thing. And then a woman is supposed to be so submissive to the husband that when your husband says sit down, shut up, you will sit down and shut up. The stereotypical aspect of men, a man is supposed to be the sole provider in every home. You know, we are supposed to come to you for everything. And then a man is not supposed to be a nurse. You're not supposed to be a nurse. When people see a man that that is a hairstylist. I've seen so many men that are hairstylists. You know, most of them start behaving like women. It's stereotypical, even if they are not gay. Do you understand? And some of them, they are nail technicians. They are into different things.
Traditional roles and gender stereotypes are the roles that male and female members of any community are being established to perform concerning the society that they belong to. Yes, those roles are important for the sustenance of the society. The male have their particular roles that they play, mostly in rural societies, is very amplified. And the females also have their roles that they also abide by to make sure that the smooth running of the society and the family in particular is sustained. Okay, how it affects men and women is mostly amplified in urban areas. In the urban areas, mostly in the cities, gender roles are being merged in workplaces, in residential houses that people live in. Most of the men that are there don't even stay with their families. They are workers. They stay alone most of the time. Then they go and visit their relatives back at home or their families. So some of the men do not play those kind of roles that traditional men in the rural areas play. Something like some of the men go to market to go buy things to cook for themselves. Some of the men wash their clothes. And some of the men, even maybe if they have 1 or 2 kids that are staying with them in the city, they do take care of the kids without reaching out to the female gender to assist. And the women too, you find out that some of them are even breadwinners in the cities. Some of them also take on jobs that are traditionally meant for men. So jobs such as working in industries, working in heavy-duty occupations. And some of the women also decide not to even get married and have children. And so gender roles are being, most of the gender roles are being diluted in urban areas. So that's where I think that it affects the genders is mostly in the urban areas that gender roles are being rubbed off and merged per se.
I think even like now, before, men are supposed to be like the sole breadwinner of the family, but now it's not even that way, because most times things are very difficult. If they allow only men to provide for the family, it's not going to work. So now women bring, men bring, and they join it together. Even like this Gen Z and 21st century generation, men now help out in the kitchen, help out in raising children, help out in like so many other things that they feel like it was women's duty before, like, and other things. For me, I feel like it is a good thing. I think it's helping the society positively, because now, as I said, the cooking part now, men are now chefs, and then they are using it to get money to provide for themselves, provide for their families. If it was left for women, now they will say, oh, it's women's duty. No, but because men are now doing it, they are already providing. And also the parts where women don't have to stay at home to now be taking care of children or stay at home and be doing house duty. It is also helping families. Maybe if they're supposed to be eating 1 square meal in a day, but because the wife is providing and the husband is also providing, it will make the family increase to maybe eating 2 or 3 times in a day.
Gender roles and stereotypes supposed to be an old kind of topic. We shouldn't be discussing it in these present times, because actually it's not relevant in the times and seasons we are now. Men are supposed to be doing this, or women are supposed to be doing this. It's just not quite relevant to me. I don't know about somebody else's opinion, because in my own family, I don't look towards those directions. Maybe a woman should do this. If you are married to a lady, and maybe in the world we are today, she's doing a lot to care for the family, you being a man supposed to help her, unless you have enough money for burial. You're supposed to be helping her to do a lot of house chores and things like that. If you're not doing your own work, and then even if you're doing your own work, when you come back house and the woman is not around, it doesn't take much from a man like me to warm the soup before the woman comes back. So those are the ways I see the issue of the topic of gender roles and stereotypes. Because if my own opinion, when I echo my opinion, maybe towards young people nowadays, they will say, this is an old man or this is an old school something.
Wow. Our conversations today have shown that while traditional gender roles and stereotypes still exist, perspectives are shifting. Many people recognize the importance of breaking free from outdated expectations to create a more inclusive and equal society. Whether at home, in the workplace, or in relationships, challenging these stereotypes allows individuals to pursue their passions and potential without limitations. Well, I mean, today has been quite packed with a lot of informative things to take home, and that's the much we can take today for our episode on gender perspectives. Now, don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms showing right now on your screen. And as always, I am Uchenna Chimdi Oluoha. See you next week.
New every morning on Signature TV, we open the day for you with needed energy, information, and required vibes to shape your day. From sizzling snippets of stories in various areas of life to intriguing conversations with net worth guests.
When you have people who have no track record becoming your leaders, you have a problem.
There's no outstanding gratuity when Obi took over from me. I left, in all the accounts of Anambra State, 13.8 billion for him.
Your day cannot be complete without Signature Morning on weekdays and Signature New Day on weekends. There is no better way to start your day except Signature Morning and Signature New Day every day on Signature TV.
We are local.
International communities observing
When the main market is in chaos, people
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye. Aye. We have taken the vote by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Get plugged into the heartbeat of entertainment on The Hub, your ultimate show on e-vibes. From trending stories and social media drama to top charting music, must-watch movies and exciting moments from the world of arts, we've got it all. Join us for unmissable conversations with your favorite entertainment personalities, plus fun segments every week.
I should try harder, so...
Okay, I don't know that one.
Outfit of the day.
Oh, I don't do that. That's some Gen Z stuff.
Oh, now you say it's a Gen Z stuff.
It's everything you love about entertainment, served fresh every week at 1 p.m. with weekend repeats just in case you missed it. The Hub's on e-vibes, where the vibes never stop. Only on Signature TV.
New every morning on Signature TV, we open the day for you with needed energy, information, and required vibes to shape your day. From sizzling snippets of stories in various areas of life to intriguing conversations with net worth guests.
When you have people who have no track record becoming your leaders, you have a problem.
There's no outstanding gratuity when Obi took over from me. I left, in all the accounts of Anambra State, 13.8 billion for him.
Your day cannot be complete without Signature Morning on weekdays and Signature New Day on weekends. There is no better way to start your day except Signature Morning and Signature New Day every day on Signature TV.
Health is more than a diagnosis. It's your lifestyle, your choices, and your future. Join us on Inside Health, your weekly deep dive into the stories, science, and solutions shaping your well-being. From expert interviews to real-life journeys of healing and hope, we cover it all.
One of the complications of cancer management or treatment is they have some of them at one point in time, you see them having anemia. Okay, so you see them at times being transfused. But at the same time, you come in with a diet.
Nutrition, mental health, innovations in medicine, fitness, and everyday wellness. Whether you're managing a condition, staying informed, or just living your best life, Inside Health is your trusted guide.
I'm Tigiti Agorum, and I'll be with you every week on Inside Health, only on Signature TV.
Bright and early as the day breaks, as the newspaper headlines trail the stories that shape the day. We at Signature TV trail the headlines that trail the day. We interrogate the headlines. We analyze the stories that make the headlines.
WAEC is overrated, and they even overrated themselves and went into CBT. They are insensitive of some Nigerian children who have never heard what it was CBT.
With passion and emotion, we drive the conversation to change a narrative.
Let nobody be deceived by Nigerian high level of performing in agriculture export. We are still where we are.
Newspaper review on Signature TV every morning on Signature Morning, weekdays, and Signature New Day, weekends. Newspaper review on Signature TV. We do not just review the headlines, we make the headlines relevant to our daily lives.
Hello and thanks for joining us. This is your signature show, and I'm Vin Martin Obiora Ilo. Today on our program, we are featuring a special woman, a woman of courage, a woman who has never ever shied from taking a position when it concerns Nigeria and when it concerns Nigeria's democracy. My guest today is the president of Women Arise, President Center for Change, an award recipient of that global award instituted by the United States, International Women of Courage. So far in her activism, she has received more than 481 awards. When Nigeria was actually advocating for true democracy, she was the president of Campaign for Democracy. My pleasure to welcome Dr. Joe Okey-Odumaki. Dr. Joe, you're welcome.
Thank you. The famous Vin Martin Obiora Ilo. Thank you. Pleasure.
Good to see you again. Let's go back. You know, you have become a role model. You have become a source of inspiration for a lot of old and young women. Let's try to go with you where this whole journey started. How did you get into activism?
Well,
was it something you always dreamed of, or was it something that just came?
I think growing up, I wanted to be a nun married to Jesus because my parents were staunch Catholics. And when my father realized, shortly after my secondary school, I was 14 plus, my mom told my dad, because he was in the UK, he saw me filling the form. And then my dad called me, "You don't want to procreate. Young girl, I will disown you." And as a younger wife of my dad, because daddy's pet, I told Sister Thire, And then Father Kerry, Reverend Father, said, "It's your earthly father. If the person that you should be bothered about if he disowns you is the one in heaven." So I felt unconcerned. So my dad came back and said, "You still want to be a nun? I will not only disown you, but I will print your obituary. When people see you, they will think you are a ghost and they will run." So I just then had a rethink. I didn't go back to tell Sister Tire or the Reverend Father, but I just decided that I'll forgo it. So that was why my dad took me to Kwara Poly and then met the director of School of Basic Studies, Dr. Acho. So I started living with him, did the exams, I started my A-levels, but I still wanted to go back to the seminary school. But one thing led to the other. One day I saw a left-wing movement, Rethink Nigeria. When I went for their meeting, I observed there was no opening or closing prayer. So when I made the observation, they threatened they were going to throw me out. They actually threw me out. So I forgot about it. I continued. When I got to the university, one street lecturer said somebody scored very high marks in her test. So my matriculation number was called and I went to see her. When I got to her office, she just stared at me. "Why are you looking for me?" So I was stammering. He said, "Are you a stammerer?" I said, "No." So I told her my matriculation number was mentioned. She said, "Why? You scored very high marks in my test. Why you make her a reverend sister?" So I said, "I want to be married to Jesus." She then smiled, gave me one book to read, the biography of Martin Luther King, and one quotation: "Our lives begin to end. The day will become silent about things that matter." And that changed everything. My thought, my conception. I said, wow. So my life has been ending all this while. Not only that, growing up, my mom as a princess, I watched her settle communal disputes. My father as a top civil servant, when I go to his office to collect money, I some of the civil servants come to him. So something like injustice, they hated injustice, but I just felt mine was to serve God. So when the whole thing changed after that quotation, I then gave my life to the struggle. And that's since 1985-86. And since then, and anything I'm committed to, I do that with the whole of my being. So, and that was how the struggle started. And then I only had a mattress and book. And I called one of the lawyers at Olagbe, "Help me will this in case I die in the process. The mattress should go to the motherless home, while my books should go to the University of Ilorin Library." And since that time, I had not looked back.
Have you rewritten your will?
Yes, some years back.
Do you see a relationship between what you do now and what you wanted to do?
Yes, I see that relationship, that correlation, that passion for God, for righteousness, seeing evil as an aberration. So the sharp correlation really is that I hate injustice. I want to see a country that works. I feel that I'm pained when I see people suffer. And that is why when anything goes wrong, I will just become sick or ill. So I think that there's that big correlation between wanting to be a nun and giving my whole being, my whole life to God with the struggle that I'm into now. The struggle is my life. And that's all that. Apart from the fact that my parents sent me to school, first degree, second degree, third degree. I do contract teaching, a local international rapporteur. I do a few things to earn a living. The other thing is protecting people's rights and ensuring that there's no injustice anywhere is all that I've strived for all my life.
So in other words, you're still serving God?
Yes, still serving God.
In a different way?
In a different way.
So when you look back, do you think that the sacrifice you've made, putting your life out there to fight injustice, do you think it's worth it?
Well, Like Albert Pike, one of the books I read, said, what we do for ourselves dies with us, but what we do for others and the world remains. Looking back, if I remember all the incarceration I went through, detention more than 17 times, if I still recall on the day of protest, one of the protests that more than 300 people were killed, and I was shot on my leg, and I had to manage, I escaped, the bullet was removed locally. If I could still recall months not bathing, even one of the detention that I've had, that to teach me a lesson, I was detained with male criminals. But that day, I found favor. Their president said, I'll be the wife for that moment and nobody should touch me. So looking back at those hazards, if I still recollect the old man that gave me an accommodation in Lorraine, Kwara State, and the landlord, returned my rent because of harassment, molestation from security operatives. When I refused to pack out of the house, the landlord packed and became a tenant elsewhere. If I still recollect that old man, that day, and I see all the sacrifice, even my own father was detained, and I look back, or having a baby and leaving my baby in the hospital to go for a rally, and I look back at all those risks that one has taken, or being locked up in the boot of a car, or being slapped by soldier while pasting posters at the barracks, that even as I speak, whenever I'm flying and we are descending, I still have problems with my eardrum. I have to block there. So when I look at all those hazards, or having to deal with ulcer, in those days my mom would say fast. I can fast, break in the evening, but not eating for 14 days, because one is not sure where the restroom that one will use, maggots and everything. If one looks at all the hazards, I think that if we had not made any attempt, or if I had not made any attempt, probably would have been worse off. And remembering that the journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. Also recollecting vividly what Franz Fanon says, that every onlooker is either a coward or a traitor. So if I look at all those things and rewind, I think that that sacrifice, the suffering that one went through, is worth it, because we will have been probably years far behind.
In this struggle, being a woman, has it ever been a challenge? Has it ever been a disadvantage? Has it ever been an advantage in the life you chose to lead?
It has never been a disadvantage as a person, because I believe that the worthiness of life is deep-rooted in the service of mankind. Like Martin Luther King said, everything that I've confronted, I don't really think that there's anything special in being a man or being a woman. I always want, in fact, in those days when we have hazards, I always want to go to where the battle is the fiercest. When I'm going to paste posters, I would tell the guys that, please, just step back, let me go. In case I'm shot dead, you be able to tell the public that this was the last place she went to. And anything, even in the midst of provocation, I started putting on trousers since 1992. When I was beaten, my skirt was torn, I was thrown inside the gutter. Somebody that was selling things, I just used the scarf to cover myself up. But one thing really is that I believe that where determination exists, failure can never dismantle the flag of success. So if one believes, if one has the passion, and that's why when I see women these days, I try to tell some of the women folk that it is when you give others the permission to talk down on you, to see you as a weaker sex, that is when they can override you. But when one believes, when one has the confidence, when one also has that conviction that one will always strive to be the best, it has never been a disadvantage. And that is where anywhere I find myself, in fact, I find myself as an activist, male dominated. When you see the hazards, a lot of few female folks are there, they will not want to forge ahead. But I always want to see, because I always optimistic that there will be a light at the end of that tunnel. And so I'm not really afraid of dying, because I know it's God that gives life. It's God that can say. People who even go and hide during demonstration, you find out that they are the ones that bullet will hit. So really, being a woman, a female, has never put me in any disadvantage area, because I have my value, I have the passion, and I firmly believe that whatever I want to do, there's no looking back, and that's success. And irrespective of the hazards that I face, I always want to forge ahead.
Talking about women, do you think that the Nigerian woman, the African woman, has been appreciated for her contribution to development?
Yes.
Do you think they've been given the right opportunity to actually, use their talents to make, life better for the Nigerian, for the African?
Yes, like few weeks ago we had International Women's Day. The theme, Press for Progress. And what gave rise to this theme? The World Economic Forum had a meeting, and then found out that, also made an assertion that in terms of gender parity, that we are 200 years back. If you look at Nigeria as an example, I tell our women folk, we must not continue to agonize. We must organize. And in organizing, what can we see? That, look at the National Assembly. You see that out of the 109 senators that we have, only 7 are women. Look at those in the lower chambers. Only 16 of them are women. And then we've never had, how many governors do we have that are women? Local government chairman. And women are treated as spare tire. If I have a spare tire and I have a brand new car, there might not be need for such. Women are numerical strength. We are more than 50%. If we translate that to our votes, I think that, and one thing I've always said is that no country can progress leaving half of its population behind. Women have not been given that fair share. But I want women to realize that they are the ones who can put their issues on the front burner. Let women I get so nauseated when I see women at political gatherings and they turn themselves to cheerleaders and they start clapping. They should not do that. Women are the ones who can put their issues on the front burner. Politics has been gravely monetized. But I think that more than ever, women, we should love ourselves. We should be each other's keeper. What we need a man to, if a woman is coming out to contest and women cast votes for such women, but I just want our women to realize that if we are talking about gender parity, the World Economic Forum, that we are 200 years back, I think that we have to sit tight, we have to brace up, and women must ensure that wherever they find themselves, they must excel, so that they will always become that reference. We have had women who perform excellently well, and I'm sure the names of such women are written in gold. So I want our women to agonize less. And I also want our men that women's role is no longer in the other room. It's no longer at the back. It's side by side. And if we are pressing for progress, we should have women. So women have not been given better deal. They've not had that fair share. But I just want women to brace up and know that they are the ones who will push and press for progress.
The people of Akpugeze in Oji River local government area of Enugu State have commended Governor Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi for what they said was his uncommon leadership qualities anchored on vision, humility, good governance, and respect for all, irrespective of political leanings. In an address read on their behalf by Professor Joshua Ume during the flag-off ceremony of Nkwoini, Akpugeze Road in Oji River local government area of Enugu State, which was among the 1.1 billion naira road projects recently awarded by the Enugu State government, the community expressed delight that after decades of abandonment, Governor Ugwuanyi's administration is embarking on this all-important road project. They recalled the sufferings of the community when the community was virtually cut off from the rest of the state on account of the bad road, a situation that impacted negatively on the development of the agrarian community. Welcoming the governor, chairman of Anbis Group, the company handling the project, Chief Anayo Onwebu, thanked the governor for the opportunity given them and promised they will deliver a world-class road. Chief Onwebu, who is also an indigene of Akpugeze, said with the construction of the road, Governor Ugwuanyi will not need to campaign for re-election in the area.
We don't want to talk about the politics of 2019. God has sanctioned that. Your Excellency, you can see for yourself. Oji! Oji! Akpugeze! Easy. There is no need coming for campaign. The election for 2019 is already conducted and the votes are kept.
Also speaking at the event, an APC chieftain, Chief Bazuago Nweke Bazuago, said Governor Ugwuanyi has brought happiness to every family in Enugu State, irrespective of political leanings or class. He told the crowd that the main reason for him to be in politics was to fight for the well-being of the people.
If there is one reason I'm in politics, this is the road. If there is one reason I'm desperate to be in politics, and I'm desperate to do political fight, this is the road. And I've told people, sir, if this road is done, I can surrender anything I want to do in politics.
Flagging off the road, Governor Ugwuanyi said that the project was in fulfillment of their mandate and resolved to take development to all corners of Enugu State and to alleviate the sufferings of the people in various communities. He called for the cooperation and support of the people for Enugu State to move forward.
We are here because of our commitment to the people of Oji River and to all our communities in Enugu State. I want to assure you that it has always been the desire of this administration to construct this road, as we are fully cognizant of its importance to the socio-economic well-being of the people of Akpugeze and Oji River as a whole, and also the realization of the state government rural development objective. To the glory of God and service of humanity.
Why do you think that women continue to be spare tires? That with all their numerical strength, like you pointed out, that women are still left behind, and we are still talking about women in the other room at this time. What are the challenges? And besides what you have said, what else can be done to lift them, to give them the confidence they need to assert and demand for their rights?
I think that there are numerous challenges. We have some women, they are career women, and some of them will struggle hard to keep their homes, their workplace. Then we'll have those that are in politics, that you see that some of the few things that men will do, that they be forgiven. You will see some of these women are given unprintable names. Some of them, some of the meetings that they attend at night. Then you see that economically, some of these women are not so empowered. So instead of them to come out, they want to queue at the back of men. I think that men should understand that women, like the affirmative action, 35%, we are far behind in terms of getting to that place. You see that some of the elective positions, women are not given such opportunities. But I think that men that don't feel safe, that suffer complex problems, are the ones who will never give women trial. I want our men to realize that women must be carried along. And that's why I even advocated one time that there should be a trust fund for women, so that when some of these women want to contest, because everything has been heavily monetized, but the few money that will have to be spent, if there's that trust fund, I think that women can also access it. And I want our women to realize that wherever they find themselves, for instance, their positions for women. I spoke at one occasion with one organization, and they told me that for women, they are treasurer, they are vice president. It even has to do with the Congress, one of the programs that I went for. So I want women to be able to compete. A woman should be able to come out. Look at the time Sarah Jibri came. Even the women that followed her did not vote. So what I really think that the way forward is that women themselves are the ones who must be supportive of each other. They must brace up. The men should also realize that there cannot be progress if women are not carried along. By and large, I want our women to realize that when they are determined, when they have the passion, no one can push them aside.
I wonder why frontline women, the women we see every day, who advocate for women's rights, advocate for civil rights, why they don't want to present themselves. And I'm looking at someone like you. Why, for instance, would somebody with what you have achieved, with the awards you have all over the world, with the doors that you have broken, the ceiling glasses you've broken in a lot of, departments and areas of life, why would someone like you and like other very powerful and strong women not want to run for office?
I think that there are a few reasons. One, when some of those women come out, they will be told to go and queue. And then we also think that the internal democracy that we have within some political parties has to be strengthened. Personally, I've always said that I don't really want to participate in any elective office. And I always want to encourage women that want to come out. At times we do training on the platform of Women Arise. We even help women to develop their manifesto. But the thing really is, one has the passion for. As a person, politics is not a thing that I even want to go into. But I want to encourage anyone that wants to do that to forge ahead, because it's important that one has the passion. One should not be begged to contest. If one has the passion, if one is interested, you see that that person will excel. I don't want to participate in any political office, take part in anything that will lead me to occupy any political position. But for those who want to, I will encourage them. And for others, I'm talking about our men folk, they should give women that chance. And I'm not really for those who believe in quota system, reserving some certain position, but I think by and large, it should be encouraged.
But you talk about men supporting women, but I've heard a lot of women say that the hardest part of the job is getting women to support women.
Yes, I've always tried to let people understand that when people come out and say, oh, women are each other's enemies, women are the ones who pull each other down. One thing that our women should understand is that when you have a woman, the position, there be that Midas touch. So I want women to always encourage themselves so that they can occupy some of these positions. And it's true, when you see women, you have like 1,000 of them, maybe you have like men, maybe like 300. If the man should contest, you find the man having close to 900 votes. I think that is their mindset that has to be changed. Women must be supportive of each other. We must change that mindset that says if a woman occupies a certain position, the woman will always use her position to override others. There is a mindset that must be changed, and women must be supportive of each other. Women must always use their numerical strength to encourage others.
Let's talk about Women Arise. What are you trying to achieve with that platform? What are you and your team and your colleagues trying to achieve using Women Arise?
Women Arise came to USA in 2003, and Anon said from his book I read that women speak the same language, which is silence, although it's not entirely true. So Women Arise was formed to break the culture of silence and also to help in the empowerment of women. We've also seen that violence is on the increase. When you find 3 women, one of them has been assaulted in her lifetime. So Women Arise was formed to help women that suffer all sorts of abuses. We also help and encourage women. They are training political participation of women. We do lots and lots of training. So Women Arise will have research. We'll carry out lots of researches. Will help in the empowerment of women. And I just want to tell you that as of 2013, we have handled more than 2,000 cases of violations against women. But as we speak now, 4 years after, we've handled close to 4,000. Sad enough, we have had cause to bury about 10 women that lost their lives as a result of violence, domestic violence. And I want to tell you that out of 4,000 cases that we've handled, only about 30-something men have come to report that their wives are beating them. So you see the percentage, and unfortunately, sad enough, about 5 men have been killed by their wives. But the thing about Women Arise is that anyone who believes in gender parity, women empowerment, political participation, is also a member of Women Arise. So we have men and women. And that's why we have on our board, we have men like Professor Wole Soyinka, we have Professor Patu Tomi, Dr. Tunde Bakari, and we have women like Mrs. Ransom Kuti, Mrs. Fawe and me, Dr. Piso Biajulu, myself as board members. So those are Women Arise. We've done lots and lots of, we've made lots and lots of intervention. We carry out awareness. We have ambassadors that we have to name so that when people see them in the Nollywood field, within other professions, they are the ones that will present as ambassadors.
We'll take a break. When we return, we would look at the activism of Dr. Joe Odumakin. Don't go away.
Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. We shall always fight for God. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. We shall always fight for our girls. Solidarity forever.
Glad to know you're still with us. This is the Signature Show. And our guest is Dr. Joe Odumakin. You know, for a lot of Nigerians, that name, Dr. Joe Odumakin, became synonymous with the struggle for democracy in the 90s. How did you get involved in that?
Military rule was an aberration. And like I said, that our lives begin to end, you really become silent about things that matter. And then this Martin Luther King says that in the end, we not remember the words of the wicked, but the silence of our friends. When I got involved, found out that military rule was in vogue. And we had a common enemy, and that was the military. And sending the military back to the barracks was our main aim. Also considering all the hazards. In this time, people go out on protests, you hold your laptop, your phones, you take photographs, you do live coverage. In those days, live bullets, serious beating, no one is spared. You see people drop dead left and right because we had no constitution. The constitution was suspended. We were run by decree. So people knew the hazards of such. So in those days, starting up the struggle, dictatorship, we felt that where else will the soldiers see some of our handbill was like going straight to the barracks to paste. So started pasting IBB Go, the barracks. Unfortunately, some of us were caught, beaten, chained under the table, but we had not achieved our goal. The struggle continued. At the end, we had the introduction of political parties, but that did not stop. We wanted, when I said the struggle is my life, and I said I will not give up until we have true democracy. So we continued with dictatorship. After that, we had Abacha, and people became scarcity. And that's why one thing people always make reference to the fact is that where the war civilian rule is better than the military dictatorship. So military dictatorship, anything is run by decree. People can be killed, people can get missing, rights and privileges, not there. So our fight to get the military out of barracks, back to the barracks, continued. And after that, we had the election, which was annulled, the first, fairest, and the most peaceful election. And we just felt that we're not yet there. It's not yet Uhuru. We will continue to fight and insist that we must have civil rule in place. A lot of people paid the supreme price, and their blood has helped in watering the tree of democracy. But would they have just died in vain? Did they die in vain? Sharp comparison with what we had during the military dictatorship and then what we have during the civil rule now. Like I said, that in those days we had a common enemy. Now, some people have gone into politics. Some will say, let's give peace a chance. Okay, let's try this if it will work. But one thing is certain, that the journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. And when we fight and we go back to where we are coming from, it's just like the barber's chair. You keep going round and round. But one has not been deterred, neither is one discouraged. But one thing is certain, that at the end, the Nigerian people, we know those who have contributed in ensuring that we have true democracy, and those who betrayed the struggle, those who were fighting for a cause, and in the morning they fight, at night they go and meet those who are who they are fighting, because there were some who were even hobnobbing with the dictators. And at the end, anybody that rides at the back of the tiger will surely end up in the tiger's stomach. So I think that reviewing the whole thing is worth it. There might have been some mistakes, for instance, fighting the military, and then at the end, when they retreat to the barracks, there will be no one to take over power. Some of the people who have fought are the ones who will be there to take over this power. But those are lessons, because if we don't learn from history, sad enough, history will always repeat itself. But there are some lessons that we've learned that will help a long way in cushioning some of these effects of dictatorship.
I still want to talk more about the fight for democracy and then the democracy we have today. Part of why people wanted the military to leave was because of corruption. Part of why they wanted them to leave was because you had this kind of governance where people had their relations, their classmates, and all that. But today we see those things happening. There's still endemic corruption in Nigeria. You still have people get into position not because of merit, but because of who they know. You have people taking decisions, not because it's a decision that will help in the development of the country, but it's because a decision that is influenced by those that are close to them. And a lot of Nigerians are saying, does it mean we have not learned anything? Does it mean that those lives you talked about that were lost, that they were just lost for nothing? And they're asking, does it mean that the activists have gone to sleep? Because somehow we think that we've made some progress.
Yes, what the assertion that you made is true. I remember during the ENUGU time, we were talking about 10%ers. Why the coup? And in those days, corruption there, that the reason why we had the suspension of the constitution was because of corruption. Sad enough, Nigeria is still bleeding under the heavy weight of corruption. And that is why we said, if we do not kill corruption, corruption will kill us. Corruption has become so cancerous. And then those who have bled the country white are still part of those that will have some of them within the corridors of power. Yes, we have talked about the fact that the best and the brightest, we don't always have them in power. And we still see that as we speak, tribalism, nepotism is on the increase. And that is why Nigeria is sharply divided. But the real thing, the lesson that we'll have to learn is that the fight against corruption, Nigerian people must own that fight against corruption. If we own that fight, we see that corruption really is not only stealing in high places. You see people, I ought to be in my office, one phone call, I'll get a paper from a doctor that I cannot come to the office because of ill health. That's just one example. In schools, people cheat. There are even parents who, in those days, will get someone to write a JAMB for their awards, who want their children to pass at all costs. So we see cheating and several other things. So this corruption, we all have to fight it together. We have to own it together. And the institution that is fighting this corruption must also be empowered. Again, Nigerians, those in government, must demonstrate that political will. And in demonstration of political will, they must ensure that they get the best and the brightest. This idea of tribalism, nepotism, is because of those who have people who are qualified and they are not employed. So all these will have to change, because that's also corruption. By and large, Nigeria people are the ones who must show that leeway And then government should also create an enabling environment. If there's an enabling environment, I'm sure that some of these things we talk about unemployment. People go to university, they come out, there's no job, insecurity, a lot of things make some of our people desperate. Although it's not excusable for some of this corrupt enrichment. And also in the fight, I want to encourage all of us that we must not be partial. It has to be done, it has to be confronted in a transparent way, so that at the end, we can forge ahead as a nation.
Do you think that this government, the APC government, that came with change, that they're sincerely doing their best to fight corruption?
I think that one of the cardinal objectives of APC government, the fight against corruption. And I have also come to realize that we've talked about activists, they want to criticize, they don't want to be part of, we offer constructive criticism, and then joining in the fight against corruption. That's from my own background, is encouraging the government that as much as possible, the institution, the EFCC, the ICPC, there must never be interference. They must be empowered. And I think that by and large, that institution has tried, but a lot more needs to be done. And I also want to encourage the government, that the government must give that institution free hand to operate. Because I know that the scorecard, no matter what it is now, very soon, election will come. And the Nigerian people, in those days, there's nothing like whitewashing and brainwashing. For what each and everyone has done, the scorecard will be there. So when people come back to ask for votes, our people will look back to see. I just want to encourage the government that there is still time, although 3 years is almost here, there's still time for this government to do a lot more, so that the fight against corruption will be inclusive. It's not going to be something that will be done because somebody belongs to a particular political party. So it's a thing that should be fought and confronted frontally. The institution must be encouraged. Nigerians themselves must see that enabling environment is not that when Transparency International brings out a report that will continue to fight. But I really think that I want the current leadership of the EFCC has brought a lot of stakeholders to assist and also help to give a clearer roadmap. And that is part of what we are doing. What needs to be done the more is let these people be strengthened and let Nigerian people at the end have the scorecard and see if the government has performed up to expectation.
We take another break. When we return, we talk about the in thing today, restructuring. Don't go away.
To identify the cause of celebrating, because one looks at individuals like Joe Dumaki, who've gone through so much and have remained faithful to the cause. I've had the dubious pleasure of sharing tear gas with her, and I look forward with even greater pleasure to sharing achievements, a sense of achievement, further achievement, actually enduring achievements with her.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 2013 International Women of Courage Award recipients.
Welcome to the U.S. Department of State for the 7th annual celebration of the Secretary of State's International Women of Courage Awards.
During the past 20 years in Nigeria, Dr. Josephine Odumakin has handled more than 2,000 cases of government security agencies violating women's rights. These cases include everything from negligence to assault and killings. As the president of the Campaign for Democracy, she has personally led almost every protest, march, lecture, and workshop to encourage the rule of law and democracy in Nigeria. She has been arrested or detained 17 times, but she has never stopped crusading for the rights of the Nigerian people. For exceptional courage, strength, and leadership, in tirelessly advocating for human rights, social justice, and women's equality and advancement in Nigeria, Dr. Josephine Odumakin is a woman of courage.
And as the popular saying goes,
the struggle continues.
It's still the signature show. I am Vin Martin Obiora Ilo, and my guest today is Dr. Joe Odumakin, President, Women Arise. Well, in Nigeria today, we have so much going on. The headsmen are here, Boko Haram, kidnap of schoolgirls. We've had the Dapchi. We still have some outstanding number of students in Chibok. In Dapchi today, we don't know what has happened to about 9 of those kids. And it has brought back the debate about what system of government should prevail. Some people call it restructuring. APC calls it true federalism. Where do you stand in this controversy?
Well, I firmly believe in restructuring. I remember the last national conference, 2014, we sat down and then they have piles and piles of reports. It's going to be colossal waste of resources if we keep having conferences and conferences and then it gathers dust. We will see that the 2014 national conference provided lots of solutions in terms of devolution of powers, in terms of even what, if we're talking about true federalism, we will see that the country is becoming more and more polarized. The duty of the government is enshrined in our constitution. The government must secure lives and then properties, also protect the populace. But we'll see that, sad enough, what happened almost close to 4 years, the Chibok girls, what have we learned? If we had learned our lesson, there wouldn't have been a Dapchi. And that part of the country where education is not even encouraged. So discouraging these young girls from going to school. Few weeks ago, we had Dapchi. They stayed for a month with the terrorists, forgetting that psychologically and everything, these young girls will have been wrecked. I remember during the Chibok time, seeing some of the few girls, and one of the girls had to say, oh, what she could remember is someone will sleep, another person will sleep, and she will lose count. What will these girls, grow up to be? Look at what is happening between herdsmen. And that's why I opposed cattle colony. There's nothing, we have people dealing in fisheries, we have all sorts of trade. So why should, I believe in ranching. If ranching is done, and if there is also sincerity in the part of some of these, at times, it appears to me as if it's fiction. Is it Nigeria that life has become so cheap, so worthless, that I got so angry one day when I listened to someone speak on television, and the person said, no, people have been shouting that 40 people died, only 10 died. One life should matter, no matter what. And that is why I think that we must not fail all our girls in captivity, our fathers, our mothers. Things must be done in the right way. And those who play around religion must never divide us. Nigeria is a secular country. And that's why I also feel that Leah, that is yet to come back, should be reunited. Our military should be equipped. And then the terrorists too should